Alright, you and I are diving into the story of the Emperor's most dangerous hunting dog. Used and then thrown away the moment he turned on his master, he somehow wakes up at the beginning. He is back at the academy that twists kids into monsters. This time, he has kept all his memories and something even more precious, a clue about his long-lost family. While the other cadets are trained like puppets, he's already making his move. A hunting dog who finally chose his own target. Bow before your Emperor. Thank the heavens for the grace brought to this earth and bow down. Gather every word of blessing and deep gratitude. The knight repeated those words until his sword shattered, and he fell at the hands of a traitor. His comrades charged with spears, but they immediately crashed right into his deadly blade. They belong to an organization that serves the Emperor. Pay attention here, this Special Forces squad exists for one reason, protecting Emperor Lion Cavalan. But that is a total lie. Yan, the captain of this elite squad, slaughtered his subordinates while the palace burned, vowing to kill the Emperor with his own hands. Suddenly, the dead knights began to move and repeat those very same words. They crawled toward him, merging together into a massive, terrifying knight made of corpses. Even in death, they were nothing more than the Emperor's mindless, obedient puppets. The undead knight ordered a bow and attacked, but he struck back instantly. Meanwhile, the palace stood silent. The Emperor sat on his throne, playing with a fairy, asking if the noise outside scared her. He told her it was nothing special before turning to Yan, unable to believe his most loyal soldier betrayed him. Yan, bleeding from the brutal battle, could only glare at the man he once served. Leon asked how long he had been captain, reminiscing about the days when Yan was just a young cadet. The abyss of loneliness, the training ground for the Emperor's elite warriors. Yan rose from a slave to a captain through sheer will, grabbing every opportunity, only to end up a traitor. What more could he want? Yan ripped a blade from his own leg and shoved it into his ear, saying he was sick of the bugs being planted in people's heads. He pulled a parasite from his ear and spat that the Emperor's claims were nonsense. He had lost everything, even his own memories. The Emperor grabbed the fairy while Yan screamed, demanding to know about his family and his true identity. His entire life was stolen. Suddenly, the Emperor devoured the fairy and spoke an ancient language. Before Yan could even blink, a blade pierced through his chest. He didn't even see it coming, he was completely blindsided. Rising from his throne, the Emperor admitted he was impressed. Yan noticed the bug, but felt sorry for his favorite puppet. As his vision faded, Yan looked at the Emperor one last time, feeling like his whole rebellion was for nothing. But stick with me, a woman's voice tells him to wake up, and he opens his eyes in a familiar place. He's shocked. His heart was just stabbed through, yet here it is, beating fast. He needs to focus. This surroundings feel strangely like home. Looking around, he sees a massive column nearby. He looks up and realizes it's the Great Stone Sword. This legendary landmark is the symbol of the elite training center. It's a place where countless students have died. A wild thought hits him. He looks at his body, he's younger. Did he actually travel back in time? Suddenly, a voice behind him complains about the noise. The stranger strikes, but he reacts in time to block. The guy attacks again, telling him to stay focused. Yan slams into the wall, gritting his teeth. The guy scoffs, saying acting tough doesn't make him special. Did Yan think it would be that easy? It's cadet number 12, Roman. Yan remembers him and slowly stands up. Roman sneers, convinced there is nothing outstanding about this weak loser. He approaches, asking if they should warm up. He clearly wants to kill a loser under the guise of training. No one cares if a low-tier cadet dies. Yan stays silent, still trying to process this miracle. He sees the massive stone sword and realizes his body has actually become young again. Based on the situation and this big guy's words, he's definitely returned to the past. And he's thrilled about it. Trust me, you and I are about to watch him restart his life and finally destroy the Emperor. He tells the cadet that he's got some important news. The guy won't have a girlfriend even by 40. He should just forget about relationships and give his life to the military. Alright, stick with me, because this main character is an absolute savage when it comes to throwing insults at his opponents. He dodged and mocked Roman, saying he couldn't believe such a slow, pathetic punch actually managed to knock him down in the past. In his eyes, the guy was just plain pathetic. Enraged, Roman calls him a brat and unleashes a barrage of techniques, but our main character effortlessly dodges every single strike, even pausing to offer the guy a little bit of advice. He tells him to only strike once he has already closed the gap between himself and his opponent. He proves his point with a gut punch, the Dark Spirit's 7th strike, delivered from a distance of only 3 centimeters away. Roman is stunned that the kid can use such advanced level attacks, but our main character just rushes him, saying that once you hit the target, you have to follow through immediately. But now watch this, because a single falling object is about to change the entire course of this story. He realizes the pendant had been with him the whole time, so he picks it up and tells Roman they are done for today. Luck was finally on his side. He notices something hidden inside the jewelry and carefully pops the small lid open. Underneath is an old photo of a family, a man, a woman, and a child he recognizes instantly as his own. Seeing their faces for the first time completely breaks him, and he bursts into tears, finally remembering the precious family and the love he forgot over 30 long years ago. Burning the Empire's capital to the ground never gave him this feeling of peace or belonging. Slaughtering every knight in the Empire didn't bring him this. Now, holding it in his hands, he realizes he almost made the same mistake twice by wasting his life on a pathetic revenge. No more wasting his life on worthless vengeance. He needs to escape this place, no matter what it costs him. He will find his way back to his family and reclaim the life he thought was lost forever. Flashback to the Emperor's special forces laying siege to Verna Fortress and finally eliminating the powerful Archduke of the North. Led by Jan, this elite squad carried out countless missions that shaped the entire history of the Empire. As the Emperor's right hand, Jan was respected as the Empire's finest and most powerful knight. And now, this legendary warrior has been reduced to hauling literal biological waste around. He's working as a cesspool cleaner for a warrior training center packed with 1,000 elite cadets. You and I are looking at a slaughterhouse where you kill to survive, with 3 or 4 people dying every day before being replaced by new volunteers and kidnapped victims. This brutal training center is hidden away in a dragon's nest, deep within the northwestern mountain range. The interior is a massive dungeon labyrinth where every single cadet is branded with their own specific number. Your number represents your personal power, and the only way up the ladder is through brutal exams and tournaments. It's a pyramid system where rank is everything, forcing cadets to step over each other while remaining under the strictest total control. In a world this cruel, any student ranked 900 or above has almost zero chance of surviving the year. Low-level cadets are easily replaced, usually sent to do the dirty work or act as human punching bags for the elite fighters. That's our main character's fate. He's number 974, lucky to just be a janitor while the high-born aristocrats rule from the top. These top-tier cadets are the heirs of the most powerful aristocratic families in the Empire. A passing cadet bumps into him, scattering his boxes, and our guy grumpily tells the cadet to watch where he's going. These were those same elite heirs. Surprisingly, the girl who offended him apologizes for being careless before moving on. Their goals are simple: maintain loyalty to the Empire, have children, and keep high society under their thumb. Those are the primary reasons why these noble children are sent to this Special Forces training center in the first place. This place provides them with the most comfortable living conditions possible, keeping their heads clear of doubt, because they are already prisoners to the overwhelming privileges of their aristocratic society. High-level cadets like these always dominate the rankings and soak up every benefit their high position offers. Leading the pack are Lorena Beowulf, Cruel Dwight, and Kashasa Everain. These 3 have held the top spots since the very first day they arrived at the training center. Cruel stops and demands to know why Lorena is wasting an apology on such low-life scum. Our main character calls him an idiot mentally, while Cruel screams about status, asking if she thinks they're equals just because they're all cadets. How dare a piece of riffraff like him even speak to her? He looks at our hero's low rank and sneers, realizing he's at the absolute bottom of the food chain. He asks if he's learned the local laws yet. Our main character really wants to split his skull open right then and there, but he's forced to apologize just to avoid more trouble. The guy spits a stick at him in contempt, and though fury boils inside, our hero doesn't react. Cruel asks if that's all he's got, claiming only worthy people have the right to address him. He demands our hero crawl and beg, but trust me, you and I are about to see this arrogant jerk get literally cut in two. Alright, you and I are about to see if Jan can keep his cool after those dark thoughts, while they finally move on. Cruel told him to be more careful next time, and the girl apologized while waving, saying she had finished collecting the boxes. Our main character wiped his face and realized they could finally start enjoying their new ranks. The worse they treated him, the better it actually was for his plans. He kept working, walking along the wall, until he felt a surge of pure rage coming from just around the corner. Roman immediately came to mind, but the energy didn't fit. He didn't waste time guessing and just kept walking, pretending he noticed nothing. Then, a woman's voice drifted from around the corner. Lena said she had been waiting for him. He was totally stunned to see her, since she was actually a huge deal, the state's most dangerous criminal. Even the Imperial Knights couldn't catch him, the Blue Iron Guard. He committed his first murder at age 11. By 20, he led a gang that destroyed 23 villages and 17 guilds. His hand was legendary. Able to withstand orichalcum weapons, it was a symbol of terror until he lost it. Lena Beowulf was the one who took him down, holding his severed arm as proof. That moment made her the Imperial Palace Knights commander. The Beowulf Duchy is one of the 4 noble families ruling the northern snowy mountains. The duchy's knights claimed Lena had the potential to become the continent's greatest and youngest swordsman. She was the absolute strongest warrior ever born into the Beowulf family, and he definitely agreed with that assessment. She was exactly the kind of person to avoid. If he crossed her, things would get ugly fast. He had to handle her first. He told her she must be mistaken, but she said she would try to explain herself a different way. What was his real goal? Why was he hiding his true strength? Now watch this part carefully. She reveals she saw him fighting by the great stone sword. She thought he was just a punching bag like the other low-level cadets, but she realized she was dead wrong. She saw him land a blow from only 3 centimeters away. No one here could pull that off. Why would a low-level cadet have such insane abilities? He knew he had messed up, but he decided to play dumb until the very last second, asking what she meant. She didn't push for answers and claimed her eyes must have deceived her. She reached out her hand to apologize with a shake, but when he reached out to shake, she suddenly snapped her hand directly toward his face. For him, that move was too slow. Why was she attacking? Was this some kind of test? It was a pure emotional outburst. With no other choice, he took the hit to the face, clutching the spot and screaming that he could have died. What did I even do wrong? She was stunned by his reaction, then looked down and muttered that he really should have parried that blow. He shouted back that he had no idea what move she was talking about, making her apologize awkwardly. She hadn't meant to actually hit him. You and I both know he's just playing the victim now, making Lena feel guilty for striking a defenseless commoner. Knowing her personality, she fell for it. She asked if he needed help delivering his cargo and where it needed to go. He tried to politely refuse, but she insisted and grabbed one of the boxes anyway. As they walked, she told him to drop the formal speech since they were both cadets, but he refused because of her noble status. She mentioned that she found it unfair when higher-level students treated the lower-ranked ones like total slaves. If she ever became the leader of the duchy, she vowed to stand up and protect the slaves. He realized she was much more talkative than he expected, and soon they finally reached the warehouse. He set the boxes down and thanked her for the help. Before leaving, she said she had just one more thing to ask. He saw her attack coming, right? He'd followed her hand with his gaze, and she hoped her eyes had deceived her again. After she left, he realized she was actually incredibly sharp. He wouldn't shake her easily. Maybe he should just kill her here? He could definitely handle the current Lena. But then the Beowulf family would become his enemy. He'd be a fool to create such a dangerous rival just over some pestering. First, he had to focus on his escape. He stepped into the restroom and looked around, knowing the spot was nearby. Back when he was the special unit captain, there were plenty of deserters. Not one of them ever escaped the training center, though one reached the forest before getting caught. He politely asked the cadet how he escaped, and you're going to want to hear the answer next time. All right, you and I are about to dive into a high-stakes prison break. In the third zone's restroom, Stall 5 hides a secret. He tears down a wall and grins. The cadet wasn't lying. A long, dark tunnel stretches out behind the rubble. It is a tight squeeze, but clear the stones, and he is free from this squad forever. Night has officially fallen. Everyone heads to their cells for roll call. Room 974? Total silence. No answer. The instructor storms over, fearing an escape, but Jan finally speaks up, sitting there like a ghost. The man snaps at him to respond faster next time, then clears the unit. Lights out. Our main character wonders what this hellhole actually taught him. Precision is everything now. He only gets one shot at this escape attempt. Even if he makes it out, guards will be hunting him. The path ahead is brutal. Now, watch closely, because one mistake makes him a warning for every other cadet. His body is weak, but there is no choice. He settles into a meditative trance and focuses. Dark Dragon's Breath, a mana skill reserved only for the elite special squad leaders. He knows the theory, but his physical form cannot take it. He needs a mana engine. Time is running out. Mastering this technique feels almost impossible right now. Desperate, he takes a deep breath, gathers his fading strength, and activates the Dragon's Breath. Mana surges violently, moving way faster than he anticipated. Energy pours from his skin as if a dragon awakened inside him. This is the legendary secret technique of the first emperor. The founder of the empire used this to conquer countless nations with just a single sword. Created by the ruler out of pure boredom, its name reflects its overwhelming power. Suddenly his eyes snap open. Mana begins leaking from his core and he starts to panic because this simply cannot happen. His veins start bulging all over. Gritting his teeth against a scream, the light fades. His breathing turns ragged. It failed. Damn it all. Clearly, this broken body cannot handle such a massive concentration of secret energy yet. The Emperor once gave him a training scroll. Was it a test or just a random whim? The text explained how to inhale mana, but nothing about keeping it inside. He knows where the others are, but he must escape before that event begins. Next day, the cadets gather around the sword and discuss it. You and I know something they don't. They think they're leaving. But Jan sees the trap. If his memory is right, he arrives today. He has to stay invisible now. Suddenly, Roman shouts his name. Jan quickly pulls his hood over his face. The instructor arrives and the questions fly. He screams at the idiots to shut their mouths, making them flinch. Jan immediately covers his ears, wondering if the man is using a voice control technique. Testing forbidden techniques on kids? He is focusing mana right into his own vocal cords. For the untrained, hearing this can be fatal. Blood starts leaking from their eyes and noses. Their hearts simply cannot take the pressure. The instructor claims their rank is worthless. Do they even want to live? Jan's heart races. He never thought he would face this madman again. This is Damien, the brutal chief instructor of the Special Forces Training Center. The instructor drags away the cadets who finally reach their breaking point. He barks at the others to get back in line. He is watching. Jan watches Damien nervously. Low-level cadets are just disposable toys to this guy. If the chief notices him, the escape is over. Probably his life too. Damien calls them incompetent scum who deserve to be erased. But don't worry. The Emperor supposedly did everything for people like them, giving them one last shot at the Dragon Warrior project. Jan expected a rigorous selection for a noble mission to protect the leader, but the reality is far darker. They plan to implant bugs into the students' heads to brainwash them completely. And trust me, the Emperor's plan is just to turn them into mindless puppets. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where you can't even die without permission. Damien joyfully praises their supposedly brilliant and caring Emperor. He tells them to thank the ruler for his endless kindness. They applaud, and Damien notes they at least clap better than high-ranking cadets. Jan watches from the shadows, knowing he needs to stay totally inconspicuous. Damien turns around to see who it was, and it turns out to be Roman. He asks if the Dragon Warrior is really that important. If one of them were chosen for such a great purpose, would he still have the right to punch them all in the face? Every single one of them. Before he can finish, a bullet pierces right through his chest. Jan is stunned as Roman hits the dirt. Damien just asks if he is okay, claiming too many intrusive thoughts are cluttering his head. To Damien, they are all just bugs. The other cadets crowd around Roman, feeling nothing but pity for the guy. Jan knows he could save him by stopping the bleeding, but leaving the crowd right now is way too dangerous. Despite the hole in his chest, Roman stands back up. He asks what Damien just said. If they are bugs, why even recruit them? To survive the streets, Roman did the dirtiest work and endured every humiliation. He kept living because he had a reason. Emperor. Dragon Warriors. Is any of it actually important? Jan's jaw muscles tighten because honestly he completely agrees. Roman demands an answer, but Damien just notes he is a persistent little bug, just like a cockroach. They say cockroaches survive even without their heads, so Damien decides it is time to test if that is really true. Now pay attention, because as Damien prepares a lethal spell, a crystal mole suddenly leaps out of nowhere. The shot fires, but the little creature jumps right into the path of the bullet. The crystal mole is a wild mountain rodent, famous for a lot more than just its cute appearance. See, when its crystalline part is struck, it explodes into a blinding flash. As the bullet pierces the mole, everything goes white. Even the instructor is caught off guard by the sudden blast. While everyone wonders where the hell that creature came from, Roman is blinded and falls unconscious. The cadets rush to help him, and Jan feels a bit guilty about blowing up the mole he had found in the restroom earlier. He had hidden it just in case, never imagining it would be used like this. The real problem? The head instructor likely saw everything. If Damien realized what happened, Jan is done for. But the instructor just laughs, calling Roman as stubborn as a cockroach. He actually seems to enjoy the defiance. He dismisses the cadets and leaves, letting Jan finally breathe a sigh of relief. Watching Roman get carried away, Jan quietly calls him an overconfident idiot. You and I both know Damien isn't that blind. Back in his office, he smirks at finding such a funny new toy. More time passes, and Jan returns to the abandoned restroom in the third zone to continue digging his escape route. While crawling through the narrow tunnel, he realized he had been incredibly careless. 3 days have already passed, and he cannot believe he forgot his mask. Dig forward, secure the tunnel with planks, and repeat. The third day of labor was moving along without any major issues. By concentrating mana into his eyes, the oppressive darkness of the tunnel does not bother him one bit. Nobody has entered this place in 3 days. This abandoned room isn't even marked on the maps anymore. At this pace, he will finish early. He stabs his blade into the wall and feels a strange resistance. He thrusts harder, and suddenly, a foul liquid splashes across his face. Soon after, he heads back to work with the others. During roll call, the instructor stops right in front of Jan, claiming he smells something incredibly suspicious. He orders Jan to remove his hood immediately. Jan does not hesitate. Throwing it back, he explains that he accidentally broke a waste container and got covered in filth. The instructor screams at him to get away, terrified the stench will make his nose fall off. Later, Jan scrubs himself clean in the bath, hoping the smell is gone. He is just glad he did not trigger any real suspicion. He had not expected to break through a sewer pipe. The explosion of filth was like a dragon of waste. He wonders what they are even eating in this place to create that. Still, his plan remains perfectly on track. He managed to hoard daggers, ropes, and everything else he will need for the big escape. His physical conditioning is also nearly complete. Even though he is pushing his muscles to the absolute limit, he was afraid of dying from the strain, but the results are undeniable. Suddenly, he hears the instructors talking around the corner. Jan quickly gets dressed and creeps closer to eavesdrop on their conversation. And that's where we leave it. Gale's tongue was cut out. Trust me, you and I will want to see what's next. His buddy admitted he was so terrified he could barely breathe, but the man insisted they just had to endure this one moment. Maybe it was just rumors. Besides, the instructor was leaving soon. Hearing that news, the main character couldn't help but smile. All right, you and I are about to see him take a massive gamble since he found an opening he just couldn't pass up. He headed out, completely unaware that eyes were watching from the shadows. Time slowly ticked by. He finished up his secret work in the abandoned bathroom and prepared to leave, but sudden footsteps made him freeze. Who would come here? Could it be Lorena, the head instructor? Did they already figure out he was planning to escape? A shadow appeared in the hall, and he prepared for a fight, but it was just Roman. He asked, "So it was you?" He shot back irritably, asking what the big deal was. Jan warned him that if he was being followed, there was no time for a fight. He claimed he was just there for a job and, annoyed, asked if he could leave once he was finished. Who did he think he was? Scratches like that were nothing. The main character frowned at the wound, noting that blood was gushing out like a fountain. He insisted it was just a regular pimple he had squeezed recently. Total denial. Jan clearly didn't believe him and quickly said goodbye, using his work as an excuse to leave. Now watch this as he turned to leave. Roman smirked and asked if his job was digging an escape tunnel. He froze in terror as Roman asked if the instructor would be happy about this. Looking at him, he could see the pure fear in his eyes. In a flash, the main character lunged and swung his dagger, sending blood spraying from the man's neck. Roman gritted his teeth, asking in a hoarse voice what he had done, but Jan knew he couldn't actually kill him yet. That would cause too many problems. Roman snapped him out of his murderous thoughts, asking why he was staying so quiet. Was he too scared to speak? He reminded him that the death penalty was waiting for anyone caught trying to escape. Since he knew, he should beg for silence, maybe then the secret would be safe. The main character asked why he wouldn't just tell everyone anyway. He got all indignant and shouted that he would go right this second and expose everything to the whole world. But Jan calmly told him he wouldn't, because he hated the special forces even more than Jan did himself. Even facing death, his rage was undeniable. He knew Roman dreamed of going home, so why would he tell the instructor about the escape? He doubted it because Roman wanted out just as bad. Roman realized this guy wasn't nearly as simple as he looked. During their clash, he saw his chance. If he really wanted him dead, he would be gone. Plus, he could pick him out of any crowd. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Is he a stalker? He even recognized Jan just by his scent. He shouted that it wasn't like that. Then he asked how he possibly knew about the tunnel. He explained that honestly, it was actually quite simple. Footprints gave him away. Most of the center had granite floors, but he spotted weird footprints covered in limestone dust everywhere. The shoe size and the stride length matched his perfectly. Was that really enough to prove he was escaping? He replied that he had also checked the work reports he was in this area way too often. Jan noted he was smarter than he looked. You definitely can't tell just by looking at him once. Roman was confused, not knowing if that was a compliment or a jab. He then asked to hear the whole plan and where the tunnel was. What were the actual odds of succeeding? He asked if Roman was only interested because he wanted to join the escape. Roman said he couldn't give an answer, yet he needed time to think everything over before making a choice. The main character said, "Fine, stay here then." He was skilled enough to rank up in about 10 years anyway. But what about the people he is protecting? If he is unsure they are alive now, what state will they be in after 10 years? There is no time left to think. Decide now. If he joins, they will both be long gone by the day after tomorrow. His face darkened as he asked if Jan had really planned every single move. He confirmed it and asked if he wanted in. Roman noted there was a gap of 962 people between them. If they both run, instructors will hunt number 12 first. Like he said, they won't be here because he'll be rotting away in a grave. Jan smiled, noting it was surprisingly impressive that he was actually considering all the potential consequences. He usually didn't seem like the reasonable type. Roman once again wasn't sure if he was being praised or insulted. "Don't whine," Jan said. He was risking just as much as anyone else. "So, what is the final verdict?" Roman closed his eyes to think, then looked at him and said there was just one more thing left. Night fell, and the chief instructor assembled the cadets. Humming a soft tune, he mentioned how nice the cool night air felt. "You and I are definitely going to want to hear this huge news they gathered for. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character get some news he absolutely cannot ignore." Jan figured today was the big day to announce the exam. Sure enough, Damien confirmed that the date for their very first test had finally been set. The goal was simple. Everyone heads to a specific location, and if they survive for 1 week, they pass the test. The destination? The Blade Mountain Range. Our main character knew that place was coming. It had to be the Blade Mountains. Years ago, a traveler named Nilf went there. He heard of rare herbs that could cure his mother's deadly illness in those mountains. Young Nilf promised to bring back a cure, but he met a brutal end. He was devoured by one of the monsters before he could ever return. They say his mother waited for him every single day until the moment she died. In a way, it is lucky she never found out the gruesome truth of how he died. The Blade Mountains are packed with monsters, earning them a dark reputation as a forbidden zone. Goblins are the weakest ones there, but the deeper you go, the more bloodthirsty the creatures become. We are talking everything from rare beasts to giant monsters straight out of legends. Plus, the range hides creatures that humanity has never even discovered, lurking in the shadows of the peaks. Hidden in the most remote areas, these monsters wait. Now pay attention. Because Damien clapped his hands with a twisted smile, eager to start. He wondered how many bugs would survive. He loved imagining the suffering of those pathetic cockroaches. An instructor cut him off, saying a message had arrived and he had to go. Damien looked furious, while Jan just smirked at the interruption. Damien told the cadets the talk was over and they were all dismissed to their cells. Jan lowered his hood, thinking the instructor seemed rattled. He ended the meeting so fast without giving any explanation. The kids began whispering about the test. Surviving those mountains with almost no experience felt like a total suicide mission. The high-ranking noble children would be fine, since the instructors would secretly protect them. Suddenly, a voice barked an order for everyone to clear the way. Lena was coming through. Jan pulled his hood up, feeling way too close to her celebrity presence. He looked away so she wouldn't see his face, praying she would just walk right past him. But she caught up and suddenly turned her gaze toward him, giving him a massive scare. She definitely noticed him, but she just kept walking. Jan figured it was fine. There was no point stressing over her when he was about to escape. He asked Roman if the request was handled. Roman confirmed everything was ready, which was exactly what Jan wanted to hear. Let him enjoy looking at this massive stone sword for just a little longer. Roman asked why he was staring at this wretched thing, but Jan knew he wouldn't see it tomorrow. Roman looked nervous, sensing the main character's true intentions. Before the first exam, he must personally visit the Imperial Palace to notify the Emperor about the test. The chief instructor hates visiting the ruler, but he cannot disobey the order. The biggest obstacle just vanished. Trust me, tonight we are finally breaking out. Night falls. Roll call started. The instructor walked past the cells, calling out numbers until he reached 974. No answer. He shouted irritably, asking if the kid was playing games again and demanding an immediate response. He called again, and the main character answered that he was there, but the voice came from right behind him. Instantly, Jan grabbed the instructor by the head and eliminated him. He turned to the other escapees and told them it was time to get to work. Jan, Roman, and 2 others began their escape from the Special Unit Training Center for Elite Warriors. Jan warned that the guard shift was changing soon, so they needed to hide the body fast. Jake and Todd handled it while the others moved on. Roman confirmed he brought the 2 guys as requested. Jan asked if they could actually rely on their skills. Roman confirmed it and asked if he was going to use the guys as bait. Jan told him he never would have asked for them if that was the case. They finished hiding the body and approached the group, telling the main character not to worry about their performance. They wouldn't be a burden since they were also facing death here. Jan told everyone to keep it down. They didn't want to wake any light sleepers. They reached a massive gate, and Jan explained why he needed them there. He could never have opened this gate on his own. That is exactly why they were necessary. To get from the barracks to the abandoned toilet in the restricted zone, you have to open these massive double gates. However, for the doors to swing open, 2 people must stand on pressure plates while a lever is pulled from the other side of the gate. First, 2 people step on the plates to open the gate. Then, the other 2 go through and pull a lever at the next gate to open the first one again. Trust me, you and I know he could never have escaped this place alone. Alright, you and I are jumping into the moment Roman and Jake finally make their move on those pressure plates. He gave the nod, they stepped down, and with a heavy grinding sound, the massive stone gates began to slide open. The main character slipped through first, calling for Todd while ordering Jake and Roman to hold their positions on the plates. Roman asked how long they were supposed to stay put. Jan told them to stay put until he gave the signal. Then he vanished behind the gate for so long that Roman completely lost his patience. Now pay attention, because just as Roman starts to panic, that grinding sound returns and the gate suddenly slams shut. He immediately rushed forward and started pounding the stone with his fists, cursing Jan in every way possible and shouting that he knew all along he would be abandoned. But the main character was right there, smirking through the gaps as he asked Roman if he was going blind. The gate opened again. Roman stumbled back in confusion as Jan mocked him, saying he was sure he told them to wait for the signal. Yet they couldn't even manage to do that. Wiping blood from his face, a terrified Roman asked whose it was and what exactly happened to Todd inside those walls. Approaching the next gate, Jan told him everyone was fine and his panic was completely for nothing. They were only delayed because of a single variable. It turns out the bait was much stronger than his drugs. Past the gate, Roman saw the massive dead wolf. Jan admitted the beast was far wilder than he ever expected. Roman couldn't believe he killed that monster alone, but Jan just told them they needed to keep moving immediately. They had to run. The escape continued through a secret tunnel. Jan had dug inside an abandoned restroom. The 4 cadets finally escaped the training center walls. A hand burst through the dirt at the top of the cliff as the main character climbed out and noted their success. While the others pulled Roman up from the tunnel, Jan walked to the cliff edge, knowing the guards had likely discovered their empty cells by now. Roman walked up, saying the escape was so easy it was almost disappointing. Gazing at the moon, Jan disagreed, noting that it had taken an incredible amount of time and effort, really a lot, just to breathe fresh air again. Roman asked if they were moving, but Jan warned him to stay alert. Gazing at his family photo inside a pendant, he realized this was it. "Trust me, you and I are about to watch him finally reclaim his life." After that, he gathered the group together, telling them to listen closely because he was only explaining this plan once. The great forest of Atreon is filled with ancient redwoods, sitting deep in the Empire's northern mountains. Pointing to figurines and a map tablet, he told them they were currently in the dead center of the woods and faced a grueling 2-day run to get out. Roman interrupted, asking if they should just hide deep in the forest. The trees were tall and wide, but Jan countered that monsters love hiding in those exact same spots. Plus, the pursuit was already on their heels. Being captured was now just a matter of time. With 20 guards chasing them, if they got caught, they were dead. To survive, they had to split up and force the pursuing party to divide their own strength. If they scattered, the guards would have to follow suit. Running some simple math, it turned out there would only be 5 guards for each of them, which massively increased everyone's chances of a successful escape. Roman realized with a frown that he'd be the bait, since they would hunt the highest number first. Jan asked if he was unhappy. He could have just trained less, but who actually forced him? Staying together meant certain death. At least one of them had to survive. Jake and Todd shared a nervous look while Jan reiterated that they must scatter in different directions. Roman spoke up, saying he didn't quite understand one thing. He looked at the pieces and asked why his specifically had the word fool written on it. Jan stayed silent and told them it was time to move, ignoring Roman even as he begged for a real answer. Suddenly, Jake called out to Jan and thanked him for finally getting them out of that hellhole. He promised to repay the favor, saying they wouldn't have to pretend to be strangers in the future. "So what do you and I take from this?" Jake thinks Jan is a hero, but Roman finds the whole thing absolutely ridiculous. "What do you think? Stick with me, because this story starts with a cold farewell and a heartless reputation." He got all worked up, rubbing his nose in embarrassment while claiming that wasn't true at all. He told them they'd only meet again if they were caught. If they never crossed paths, the escape worked. Our main character thought Jan sounded like an old man. Maybe he regressed too? Roman was right, after all. He wished for a clean break where they would never see each other again. Then, they all scattered. Jan sprinted through the dense forest, figuring the others were moving fast, so it was time for his move. He pulled in a deep dragon breath, triggering his acceleration skill, Wings of the Windbird. He accelerated into a blur of sparkling light before scaling a tree to scan the horizon from the peak. As dawn broke, he realized his biggest hurdle was the physical weakness of this current body. Maintaining dragon breath was a struggle, and his veins just couldn't handle the flow of mana yet. Thinking of the others made him smile. He felt pathetic compared to how he used to be. In his past life, he was a special forces captain, a master of assassination and pursuit. He wondered if his past life's mastery had truly followed him into this body. Meanwhile, the instructor demanded hunt updates. His colleague broke the bad news: the pursuit squad still hadn't returned from the forest. He called them all idiots for noticing the escape so late. They had to catch those deserters immediately. If the head instructor, that absolute lunatic, came back from the palace and found out, they were dead. His colleague agreed that they absolutely had to catch the runaways before he stepped through those gates. But watch this, the monster they feared is already back, his hand dropping onto the man's shoulder like a death sentence. Damon wasn't exactly thrilled with being called an idiot, but the thought actually made him smile. He let the man go, telling him to relax, while the terrified instructor stuttered out apology after apology. The guy's mouth moved faster than his brain, and Damien just joked that people trash talk, even the Emperor in private. He pulled another instructor aside, asking if he was the one in charge of the cadet barracks. He teased him about being tired from the hunt, but the man insisted the pursuit squad had it handled. Damon questioned how they'd manage that when things were already falling apart. Then, the mood shifted. Without warning, he crushed the man down, snapping his legs into a jagged and completely unnatural position. A bone-chilling scream immediately ripped through the entire room. As the man struggled to move, the head instructor mocked him for missing the escape entirely. He hadn't noticed the tunnel being dug or the supplies being stolen right under his nose. The man begged for a second chance, but Damon just stomped his head into the floor. He looked down coldly and told the man he had 0 chances left to give. Terrified of his impending death, the man begged for mercy, but Damon just applied more force until the bone finally snapped. He turned to his subordinates and called off the pursuit squad. He was taking command of the hunt. When asked if he'd lead the hunt himself, he just smiled. Trust me, you and I know that's bad news. By daytime, the 3rd Special Pursuit Team was already hot on the trail of the deserters. Suddenly, their leader Kelly caught a scent and signaled for the entire squad to halt. His team wondered if they'd lost the trail, but Kelly pulled off his mask and said everything was fine. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that things were going just a little bit too smoothly. Jael and Andre laughed it off. They were just chasing number 974, an easy target. Jael pointed out the tracks leading from the cliff, following the path this prince kid was taking. He mocked Kelly's paranoia, saying his suspicious nature was why all his partners eventually abandoned him. Kelly got annoyed, wondering if he really was overthinking things, but the uneasy feeling remained. As the fog cleared, he told the team they had to move fast before the fugitive vanished. They pushed forward, with Jael confident they'd wrap up number 974 in no time. Andre figured the team hunting number 12 had it harder, but even a high-ranked cadet is still just a kid. Jael mocked his ego, but trust me, you and I know his rank won't save him from what's coming. Stick with me, you and I are watching Jan blink behind his target and drag him back to the tree. Thinking only 2 enemies remained, Andre prepared his answer to the question, but his target had vanished into thin air. Suddenly, a blade burst from the tree trunk, and just like that, only one was left. Hearing the commotion, Kelly grumbled about the noise, wondering if they were actually on a picnic or trying to get caught. Finally, the realization hit him. His entire squad had vanished without leaving a single trace behind. How was this possible? In such a short time? A chilling dread washed over him as reality set in. Even if they were hunting Cadet 12, there was no way a single trainee could wipe out Special Forces elite. How did 974 do it? Suddenly, hands reached from above, and he spun around with a desperate slash. His strike shattered a tree as he roared in fury. He wouldn't let this kid pull the same trick thrice. Now watch this. A thick fishing line wraps around his neck and yanks him off the ground. Our main character pulls the line tight, hoisting him higher as the wire begins to slice deep into his skin. It finally clicked. The footprints and torn clothes weren't mistakes, they were bait. He stared at Jan in pure disbelief. 974 shouldn't be able to crush an elite pursuit squad. He gasped the names of his fallen comrades, realizing they shared his fate as his legs went still. The 3rd team was officially eliminated. With the area clear, our main character repositions himself in the canopy, admiring the high-quality blade he just looted. This will work. Honestly, pulling off that ambush was way easier than he had initially expected. Using his body enhancement technique, these clashes are light work. But he needs to clear the forest before that heavy fog rolls in. Blood is everywhere. The hounds will catch the scent soon and lead the rest of the pack right to him. But if he masks his scent with slime, he can become a ghost in these woods. These poisonous berries and stinking leaves are the key. By crushing them into a paste, he can hide from any nose. Dogs can't stand this foul stench. As long as he's covered in this slime, they'll never sniff him out. He has to move fast. Time is quickly running out. Even in the farthest corners of the Empire, he won't be able to hide when there are snares in the sky and nets on the ground. Then, he spots something. A pillar of black smoke. The professionals would never start a fire, only Jake or Todd could be that stupid. Do they think they're on a casual hike? If that fire isn't smothered, they're as good as dead. He quickly shakes it off. He shouldn't care, he only brought them along to act as decoys anyway. If they draw heat, it actually helps him. But remembering their talk from last night, he sprints toward the smoke. The worry won't go away. He tries to tell himself that keeping them alive might actually benefit him later. If only he can reach them and kill the flames before the hunters close in. You and I both know that feeling when your gut tells you death is watching. A sudden chill freezes his spine, just like on the battlefield. Something is standing right behind him, staring. The sensation coils around his body like a suffocating snake. Then, Damon's voice breaks the silence. He's glad the trap worked. He knew this kid was something special. Jan looks away, trembling. Even the simple flutter of a butterfly's wings now feels like a violent hurricane. Damon continues, claiming he knew the boy would prove his worth. His instincts were spot on. Stepping from the shadows with a predatory smile, he greets our silent hero. Lightning tears across the sky, followed by a heavy roar of thunder. Damon notes it looks like a massive storm is about to break. Or maybe he'll limit himself to lightning. Our main character's heart sinks, this just can't be real. What is the head instructor doing here? He was supposed to be at the Imperial Palace right now. The rumors said he was in deep trouble, maybe even headed to prison. So why is he standing here? Is the future changing? Could his own actions have caused a ripple effect in the timeline? Nothing he did should have affected the instructor, yet his actions created cracks in this world that weren't there before his reincarnation. The future he knew is crumbling. Damon asks what he'll use next, a crystal mole or an electric mouse. Our hero frowns, wondering if he's been caught. The instructor asks if he really thought he'd escape, but admits he's impressed by the boy's planning. He was fast. You and I must see the end. Damon didn't catch the details, but his interest was piqued. He thought only cockroaches lived here. But this is one interesting specimen. Trust me, you and I are in for a wild ride. Our main character realized instantly that this was a massive mistake. He has no idea how much the timeline has shifted. But this situation couldn't be worse, though he's starting to doubt that. The chief instructor was nicknamed the Three Swords of the Continent, but he'll earn that later. For now, he's just the boss. Seeing that terrifying look, Damon just grins and says the kid is hilarious. He starts laughing and clapping, shouting that this couldn't get any better. He can tell the kid is already plotting his death, right? Damon hasn't had this much fun in a long time. Maybe he should tell the boy exactly how he plans to kill him. Usually, people in this situation only think about running away, but this kid is busy planning a murder. Damon is literally speechless. He calms down and mocks him. He doesn't know how to stop himself, but he can offer the boy a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. His face goes stone cold. "Try to kill me," he says. "If you succeed, you get the freedom you've been dreaming of." Jan's eyes widen as Damon smiles contentedly. It's all a game to him. But the moment those words land, he starts looking at Jan differently. He's never met anyone like this. A low-level cadet who killed a hellish wolf and even wiped out an entire pursuit team. He possesses caution, courage, and endurance on a level far beyond the rest of the scum in this place. It's as if he was born for special missions. With this kind of progress, what kind of monster will he eventually become? Seeing the cadet tense up, Damon waits with bated breath to see what kind of skills the boy will show. But check this out, he does the last thing we'd expect. Jan drops to his knees, begging for help. Damon is totally stunned. Jan looks up with watery, terrified eyes and asks if he's really the chief instructor. He claims his eyesight is terrible and he didn't even know who he was facing. He wasn't trying to run away. He says they grabbed him and threatened to kill him if he didn't obey. He thought he was safe, then Damon appeared. Damon raises an eyebrow. "So, you're saying you were forced to escape?" Jan confirms it, blaming number 12 for the whole plot. He says he's been cursing that guy's name for days. Damon wonders if the kid really thinks he'll buy this pathetic show. Jan's voice shakes, playing the pity card hard, but the instructor knows it's a trap. Right on cue, a hidden knife flies straight at him. He catches it effortlessly, asking if he really thought he could pull a fast one while his guard was down. But the moment he blinks, a second knife appears. He barely manages to dodge. The blade grazes his cheek, leaving a cut. Did this brat really throw two knives on the exact same path? He didn't expect this little rat to use such a lethal high-level trick. He looks back, but the kid is nowhere to be found. Did he actually run? So that was the plan. Now pay attention, here's the real trap. Jan drops from above, shouting that this was his goal all along. The instructor looks at him with annoyance. When did he get up there? Jan doesn't hesitate, unleashing the 15th form shadow summoning and strikes. A blinding flash. Jan leaps back as his opponent parries. He definitely didn't expect such a clean block. A cut opens on the instructor's shoulder. He glares at the black fog, wondering if this idiot is really hiding behind shadows. He doesn't waste a second and rushes in. The black mist swirls, launching dense chunks of pure darkness straight at his head. Jan avoids every single blow with perfect, effortless timing. If this pursuit continues, he won't be able to escape. He takes his dagger, runs a palm over the blade to empower it, and triggers the first shadow form. A few lightning-fast swings and the fog vanishes. But his dagger, it finally gives way. Damon promised to let him go if he managed to win. But he's not keeping his word. He's not losing a toy this fun. He steps out of the mist, absolutely delighted by this specimen. Even if he had to play with this kid for the rest of his life, he'd never get tired of it. Jan realizes it feels like he's been bitten by a rabid dog. But then, he sees something that stops him cold. There's a mark on the instructor's shoulder. He's seen it before, 22 hours before the escape, back at the cadet barracks. The lights-out order had just been given. Jan sat on his bed, thinking that everything was ready for the escape. This was his last night in this hole. He couldn't wait to get out and find his way back home. He knows nothing about his family, except for an old medallion. Soon, they will finally be together. He just wants to live in peace. He grips the medallion, and suddenly, the glass lid cracks, and a piece breaks. And that's where we leave it for now, with a secret hidden right under his nose. Look behind that glass. Alright, you and I are diving into a mystery where a simple lid reveals a strange pattern that could be our main character's family coat of arms. The mark was hidden on the back of the medallion. It looks like someone was trying to bury his past. If this crest is real, he isn't just some commoner or slave. He's got noble blood in his veins. This is huge. Now he has a lead. If he can track down anyone who recognizes this symbol, he might find his family. But then he sees it. Why does the instructor have that exact same crest tattooed right on his shoulder? This makes no sense. Damon rips off his shirt and asks why he stopped fighting. Had he really given up already? Jan just stares. A familiar pattern in the worst possible place. Could this monster of an instructor actually be related to him? It seemed impossible. Damon noticed the lack of reaction. Even though things were heating up, it looked like there was no other choice left. Those words snapped Jan back. The instructor suddenly teleports right in front of him, promising a quick death. Jan reacts instantly, throwing a high kick aimed at his skull, but the man is too fast and he misses. The instructor blocks the blow effortlessly, impressed by the power. Where did a brat like him learn to fight? Pay attention here. Shadowy tentacles erupt from the ground, hardening into lethal daggers before our very eyes. More blades burst from the earth as our main character dances through the chaos, miraculously avoiding getting skewered by the metal. He backs off to a safe distance, realizing the instructor is basically just playing with his food. He never would have survived a real attack from that black dagger. Maybe he could run while the guy is distracted, but then he'd never know why that symbol is on his body. He has to uncover the truth about his bloodline. Maybe this psycho has a link to his family. A massive uprising is about to tear the continent apart. It's known as the Armenia Rebellion, a war destined to wipe out 10 kingdoms and slaughter countless noble families. This rebellion will leave a bloody scar. The entire imperial line will be in danger, but the ruler will eventually crush the revolt with his legendary great sword. He executed the leaders and their kin before burning everything else to ash. The fires raged for nearly a month, earning that era the nickname of the 20-day sunset. It was a time of absolute, merciless destruction. The mastermind behind it all was the previous emperor's illegitimate son, a man driven by vengeance. Rumors flew about why the revolution failed, but the truth vanished when every official record of the event was burned to nothing. Still, those who survived remember the rebel as the Three Swords of the continent, though he was better known as the head instructor of the special forces. Damon walks up with a smirk, noting that his student seems to be off in another world somewhere. You and I have to wonder if Jan's family is tied to the instructor and this rebellion. Will they all die in the coming war? He has to stop this. Escaping isn't the priority anymore. He needs to stay at the center and earn the instructor's trust. He has to make the man believe he's indispensable, so he'll actually help him. He admits he's stunned by the skill. He never expected the head instructor to personally come after him like this. Damon laughs, clearly enjoying the rare praise. But when Jan mentions that the squad leader must be grateful for his hard work, the instructor's face instantly twists with a flicker of pure annoyance. Before Jan can finish, Damon grabs his head and charges forward like a beast. He slams him into a tree with terrifying force, snapping that he doesn't find that joke funny at all. With a massive crash, Jan flies several meters, his body snapping tree trunks like toothpicks. When he finally stops, he's coughing up blood, trying to find his breath. The instructor hauls him up by his collar, admitting he thought the kid was actually all right. But clearly, he doesn't know when to shut up. Does he really want to die that badly? He retorts that even his big mouth can be useful sometimes, and Damon decides to listen. When Jan claims to know the captain's fatal weakness, the instructor's entire vibe shifts into something dangerous. He calls him a fool, asking how a brat could know such secrets. But Jan just smirks, mentioning Simon's County number 52, leaving the instructor completely stunned. A few hours later, back at the center, Damon changes his clothes, annoyed that the new uniform feels way too tight on him. He never thought he'd have to trash his favorite outfit, but there's no use crying over spilled milk now. His subordinate asks about the 3 targets, and he just tells him to toss them into a mass grave. He won't lose sleep over bugs. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see who this mysterious man is that just appeared to challenge him. Alright, you and I are about to watch the head instructor nearly explode with rage over this man's carefree attitude. This guy seems lazy, let him talk. Damien just grinned, asking why Captain Meyer showed up here without any warning. It was Rodrigo Meyer, the legendary first-rank captain of the elite special squad. Rodrigo demanded a training update, but the response was cold. They were pushing as hard as possible. The captain heard things were messy, but Damien shot back that the cadets were actually outclassing the squad members. Rodrigo called it a total lie. Center graduates are beasts. Damien asked if the squad members were just failing. Whoever led them deserved the blame. The captain thanked him for the advice, promising to keep it in mind. Suddenly, a subordinate felt the mana in the air start to vibrate, warping the very space around them. It was insane. Normally, untrained people would just faint from the sheer pressure. Rodrigo mentioned he failed to report for the imperial decree. Damien fired back that he had better things to do than waste time at some fake royal meeting. The captain was stunned. What could possibly be more important than following the direct orders of the emperor? He honestly believed that the noble blood in his veins was the only thing keeping him alive right now. Now, pay attention here because the tension just boiled over. Rodrigo finally asks if the real reason for the absence was because the cadets escaped. He mocked him for being unable to control them, but Damien just interrupted, saying there were no escapees at all. As he walked away, a confused Rodrigo insisted he'd heard the rumors clearly. It had to be the truth. He joked that maybe the captain's hearing was failing with age. Meanwhile, instructors led the cadets out for the exam. By the way, there are so many cockroaches around lately. Has the captain noticed the infestation? He turned back, confused, as Damien explained that whenever he sees a bug, he crushes it under his boot. It's annoying that no matter how many you kill, they just keep coming back. But he found the cockroach nest, and he's going to destroy every single one of the larvae. After saying goodbye, he told his subordinate with a grin that seeing the captain's total confusion was exactly what he needed to calm down. That old man needs to start planning his own funeral. Everything he said was the truth, right? He pulled off his mask and told him not to worry. He never lies to his allies. Soon, he'll see for himself. Every piece of information he provided was 100% real. That's how our main character returned. Back to Simons County, Street 59, where Jan grew up as a kid. It's a lonely place with almost no people. He ran to his friend's house and yelled for her to open up. He wanted to show her something interesting. Look at this huge, cute rat. When she didn't answer, he wondered if she was even home. He was about to leave when she opened the window and asked if he was completely stupid. Who wants to look at a gross rat? He should have at least brought a squirrel instead. This street was completely unfit for children, but that's exactly where the captain's daughter lived. When he told the instructor, the man didn't seem very impressed. He mentioned there were very few kids on that street, so everyone knew exactly who lived where. Damien caught on quickly. His childhood playmate was the captain's daughter? That's some insane luck right there. Our main character realized the instructor didn't buy it. The story just sounded way too fake to be true. You and I can see what he's doing. He needs to manufacture a war between these two powerhouses. The instructor was hunting for any weakness the captain might have, but so far, he'd found absolutely nothing. His reaction proved the plan was working. Damien asked why he thought the daughter's location was such a weak spot. He answered that he heard it with his own ears during their meeting. When they met again, she told him she was leaving because bad people wanted to hurt her father. People wanted to blackmail her dad, so they had to escape. A few days later, she disappeared, escorted by mysterious people dressed in black. Later, he realized those men were special unit soldiers and that her father was the captain himself. After hearing the story, Damien smirked. It was almost too perfect how everything was falling into place. He was actually childhood friends with the captain's own daughter. Then he discovered the messy relationship with the captain and realized he held the man's ultimate weak spot right in his hands. Could such an amazing coincidence really happen? Jan joked about being blessed by luck, but he had to move fast as something was thrown his way. He dodged, but the projectile left a cut on his face as it hit the wall. The instructor doesn't believe in luck. He's calling our main character a spy. Trust me, you and I are about to see things get very dangerous. Stick with me, doesn't that sound way more logical? The main character wipes the blood away, admitting that such a conclusion was only natural. This coincidence was perfect. He has been gathering every piece of information just to survive. Every childhood memory, every detail of the captain's family ties, they all matter now. The power structure within the special forces and their deep feuds, he weighs every bit of intel to see what will give him the edge. He pieces together his memories and the new information like a complex puzzle, all for the sake of his own survival. If he really were the captain's secret spy, he would never risk his life trying to escape like this. He hoards his knowledge as a backup. By mixing truth with calculated lies, he ensures his enemies feel both hope and crushing disappointment. Deep inside the chief instructor's heart, the scales of faith are fighting against his doubt, but eventually, trust will have to win out. The moment he claims to know where the man's daughter is, the instructor's gaze shifts. Now, he must prove that trusting him is the only profitable move. He is forcing the instructor to tip the scales. Damon stands and paces by the window, nervously wondering if his plan actually worked. The instructor mumbles, "So, the goddess of fortune is really on this kid's side?" Jan confirms the success, claiming the boy is basically a walking talisman for good luck. Damon tells him to cut the chatter. He is willing to turn a blind eye to what happened today. He orders him back to silence. As he leaves, the main character knows he passed the test even if the man does not believe every single word. No need to rush things. He says his goodbyes and wishes the instructor a good rest. Leaving the office, Damon glances at the file for number 974. How could the instructors be this blind? Either the evaluation system is broken or there is a secret here. Then, he spots something in the file that actually makes him smile. Now, pay attention, this is where the real test begins at the dangerous Blade Ridge. The Emperor himself banned entry here because of the sheer variety of lethal monsters inhabiting these mountains. Suddenly, a swamp goblin lunges at a group, but one cadet handles it with a quick strike. Seeing how fast it died, the boy cheers, convinced they can handle anything this place throws at them. The swordsman sighs in relief, while the shield guys claim the ridge is nothing special. He immediately snaps at them to shut their mouths. Monsters are still lurking. His comrade tells him to relax since they already cleared the immediate area. They only need to survive a week in these mountains to pass. At this rate, they are definitely going to make it. The swordsman shouts for him to be quiet again, and this time, the boy actually apologizes. He asks if the kid was so happy he forgot the actual rules of the exam. Surviving isn't enough, they need to kill monsters and harvest mana stones. Their final rank depends on the count. They need way more than they have now if they want to beat the cadets from the 4 great families. He tells the group to slow down and stay alert. If they stay sharp, their skills will keep them alive. You and I saw that coming, didn't we? One mistake and it is game over. The others freeze in absolute horror. They didn't even see the massive beast coming. The monster mocks them by waving their friend's body. It is a golden ogre, a rare subspecies that uses invisibility magic to hunt undetected. In an instant, the beast swings its massive arm. It slams their comrade's body into the group with such force that they are killed instantly. Watching through a crystal ball, Damon laughs and calls them trash. 30 cadets are already dead, and he is tired of cleaning up their bodies. He orders the rest to move. Every 5 minutes, they will send 50 more cadets through the warp gate. Everyone lines up at the portal. The main character knows he is finally heading into those hellish mountains. The chief instructor is in a great mood. He probably already sent his bloodhounds to the location he was given. They might find some footprints or traces, but there won't be anything actually useful there. To get closer to the top, he needs to dominate this exam. That means he has to push his body to the limit. Since he has only mastered half of the Divine Dragon's breath, his progress is starting to hit a wall. Being out on the ridge is actually a perfect chance. This is an opportunity he has to grab. There are 2 hidden treasures in these mountains, and finding them will make him stronger and faster. Suddenly, something strange happens above. And trust me, we are about to find out exactly what shocked him so much right now. Alright, you and I are jumping into a moment where Jan's world completely flips. The instructor suddenly clears a path, kneeling with the rest of the crew. He orders the cadets to salute the ultimate ruler of the Kavalan Empire, the true heir to the throne. Leon steps forward, and our main character's eyes go wide with pure shock. In his past life, 500 cadets died here, but nothing out of the ordinary happened back then. However, it seems something unusual is happening now. Why is the Crown Prince here? Jan can't forget him. He was the last person he saw before his death. He was looking at a monster who treated human lives like cheap toys. Leon greets the cadets, and they all bow in respect. Even our main character has to play along for now, but seeing that face again makes his blood boil. Leon tells them to speak their minds without any fear. He asks if anyone wants to escape this hellish place right now. Just raise your hand. He swears on his name to protect them. Anyone brought here by force? Speak up now. He promises to set them all free. Jan is stunned. What kind of garbage is this? Stick with me, this is definitely not the same Crown Prince he once knew. Back then, he was reporting a successful invasion. Leon just coldly asked about the final results. The mission was a success. The information that the Manstone mine had been burned down was confirmed. Leon said they did a good job and claimed he'd send reinforcements to make sure the squad made it back. But the main character knew the invading squad was too small. They'd never survive the retreat alone. There was no way they'd make it. In response, Leon told them to do absolutely nothing. He wanted them to sacrifice their lives to kill more enemies. The main character argued they couldn't just abandon warriors fighting for the Empire's future. Leon says the whole world is just a chessboard. Slaves, knights, and even aristocrats only exist to serve the glory of the Emperor. To him, thousands dying for one ruler is just how an ideal world should function. Jan grits his teeth, calling the prince a disgusting, vile idiot in his head. He remembers the truth. Leon tells the noble kids they're only here for power. He warns them to go home now, or face the consequences once he takes the throne. The cadets are whispering, wondering if he's serious. Is the Crown Prince really saying this out loud? You and I have to wonder, how could one person change this much? Damien confronts His Highness, annoyed that the prince is acting so soft with these lowly cadets. He argues this special squad exists to protect the Emperor, but Leon calls it all complete nonsense. The Emperor should be the one protecting his people himself. A crown is worthless if the ruler lets his people die. What good is power then? He won't allow this. This disgusting place will be destroyed. The instructor reminds him the Emperor himself created this place. Everything here follows the law. The prince challenges them if even one cadet truly agreed to take this exam, he would back off and leave them alone. Silence follows as the cadets whisper. The instructor secretly thinks the prince is just a pathetic populist. But then, someone stands up. Jan can't let this exam get cancelled now. He steps forward, identifying as Cadet 974, and demands to take the exam. Leon recognizes the number. He knows low-ranking cadets get treated like trash in this place. Doesn't he want out? Jan admits things are bad, but everyone is equal in one way. No matter the rank, skills are the only thing that let you climb the hierarchy. He wants to pass because he has a goal. The prince tells the instructor he doesn't deserve a cadet with this much drive. The exam will continue, but the prince decides he'll be watching every single move personally. Damien tells the cadets to look at how generous the Crown Prince is, and to do everything possible to repay his kindness. The instructors get back to work, telling everyone to listen up closely. They explain the warp gates. One step through, and you and I are heading to the mountains. Alright, you and I are about to see if our main character can survive a teleportation that literally rips people apart. Next up was Jan. He stepped into the magic circle as the countdown ticked toward 0. He remembered that in his past life, Leon never even showed up here. But this time, everything is different. Was it his own influence that changed the timeline? If not, then what really happened to Leon? The timer hit 0, and he vanished. Upon landing, his first priority was checking his body to make sure all his limbs were still attached. He scanned his surroundings, wondering if he had just been dropped into the middle of some godforsaken wasteland. He needed a weapon. Fast. Then, a familiar scent hit him. He immediately realized he was in the Valley of the Winds. It had been ages since he smelled that foul mix of sulfur and pure demonic energy. Suddenly, a growl echoed behind him as a beast pounced. Meanwhile, a group of cadets was being ambushed by a massive cockatoo griffin. They scrambled to run, knowing damn well they were completely outmatched by a monster like that. The griffin shrieked as blood sprayed from its skull. Lena appeared, slicing the beast down and saving all the terrified cadets. They would have been dead meat without her. Looking them over, she noticed several of them were badly injured. Only low-ranking cadets in this squad? Their leader confirmed it. Most were in the 700s, and many were bleeding out. Now, pay attention here. They beg her to let them follow her until they can escape this valley alive. She told them she didn't care either way, leaving them overjoyed. But inside, her mind was focused entirely on Jan. She couldn't stop wondering where he was. There was no way he had already finished the trial. He was so bold, even in front of the crown prince. Why act like that? Suddenly, Cruel interrupted her thoughts. He mocked her, calling her decisions stupid. Why was a princess hanging around with these bottom-tier losers? Was she setting herself up to fail? These idiots weren't even good as human shields, let alone worth babysitting like a nanny. Did she really think pity would save them? She snapped back, telling him to watch his damn mouth. You can't judge a warrior just by their rank number. He laughed, claiming someone else would take the top spot. She shot back that if he only cared about numbers, he would miss the things that actually matter. Kasha walked up, noting they sure had plenty of free time if they were standing around arguing. She told Cruel he was being short-sighted. Sure, grades are individual, but this wasn't a competition between them. He asked if she was planning on wasting her time with these pathetic slugs as well. She explained that a larger squad is better for surviving a crisis. She promised to help them all pass. Besides, as aristocrats, it was their duty to lead the commoners. He smirked, asking since when a family of traitors counted as nobility. What has the Everain family ever done for people? He told her to be careful. It would be a shame to see the last Everain end up on the guillotine. The words cut deep, but she just smiled and thanked him for his concern. It was clear she was way too obsessed with rebuilding her fallen family's name. Sometimes she envied him. His older brothers handled the family burden, leaving his head completely free of any complex thoughts. Enraged, he tried to strike her, but Lena caught his wrist. Kasha just gave him a confident smile while he cursed and struggled to break free. You saw that too, right? Lena was way stronger, forcing him to back down while he spat out more insults and called them worthless. He stormed off, thinking he was better off without hanging around those worthless losers. He remembered his childhood, being told never to ask for anything and to live as if he were already dead. He cursed under his breath, hating that he was even remembering that miserable day again. Then, he spotted fresh drops of blood on the ground leading toward the rocks. It smelled completely fresh. Could it be a monster's lair? If there were a lot of them in there, they were in for trouble. He needed to stay hidden and assess the situation. Peering from his hiding spot, he saw a cadet below surrounded by dead goblins. Did he kill them all? His eyes went wide when he saw the kid literally eating goblin hearts. Meanwhile, Jan recalled how he needed 2 specific artifacts from these very mountains. He needed those artifacts for his plan. He started to move, but a red goblin suddenly lunged at him. He incinerated it instantly with dragon flame, then reached out and claimed its heart. But he wasn't alone. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You and I are about to see him tear through this entire crowd of goblins like they're absolutely nothing. Let's dive into the world of monster mana stones. For ages, these stones were just raw materials for crafting magic items. But then, everything changed when their true potential was finally revealed. Professor Isaac changed the game by publishing a scientific paper at the Academy. The mage Isaac claimed that by using mana stones, you can actually absorb a monster's unique abilities along with its mana. This explains orc endurance, troll regeneration, and even ogre strength. Naturally, this caused a massive uproar in the scientific community. Scholars called it total nonsense. They argued that the way humans and monsters use mana was just too different. Dean Neuron even threatened to fire Professor Isaac unless he could prove it. But against all odds, he successfully defended his thesis. Once the professor's claims were confirmed, Every mana user on the continent went into a complete frenzy. Now, you're more likely to find monsters in pharmacies than in dungeons. But is it actually hard to absorb these crystals? Extracting the poison is the real challenge. It requires moon beetle juice and lava stones. But the actual mana absorption? That part is simple. You just eat them. And trust me, you're going to want to see how Jan handles this. He bites into a piece of flesh covered in crystals, hating that he has to do this again. The taste is still absolutely revolting. He needs to absorb the stone, which has a 2-to-1 ratio to the monster's heart. But that means swallowing poison. To take in this much mana, you have to be ready for death. Nausea hits him hard. He covers his mouth as the poison starts burning from the inside, but he can luckily neutralize it with his ancient dragon breathing technique. Using the technique brings instant relief. Still, it looks like this process is going to take much longer than he anticipated. He can't rush this. Suddenly, Cruel strikes with everything he's got, slamming our main character straight into the dirt. With a smirk, he says he never expected to find a low-level cadet out here, let alone one he couldn't easily crush. He plans to steal the mana for himself. But when he looks down and sees nobody under his boot, he's completely baffled. The main character stands nearby, warning him that in the Blade Mountains, there's something far more dangerous than any monster. He's talking about trash like Cruel. The noble remarks that Jan was lucky to dodge, having heard of savages who actually devour monster flesh. But this looks even more disgusting than he imagined. He calls Jan worthless and swears to beat him to death right here. He offers a deal though. If Jan sincerely begs for his life, he might just spare him. So, when does the begging start? Or maybe Jan should just hand over every mana stone he has. Then, he'll show him just how merciful a true aristocrat can be. Jan calmly says he has nothing. Cruel tells him not to lie, claiming he was going to show mercy, but Jan is just too stupid. Since they're alone, nobody will even know if he kills a small fry like him. If he wants to live, he needs to hand over those crystals. Jan realizes this is a perfect opportunity and grins. You saw that coming, right? There's no one here. Cruel says he respects the choice, but warns him not to scream. Before he can finish, Jan's fist slams directly into his stomach. Cruel was destined to be the next powerful master of his family's mansion. Even at 12 years old, he knew the world was mostly trash, and his position as heir was simply his birthright. However, 2 idiots in his family feared his potential. Under the guise of education, they shipped him off to a dumpy warrior training center. He will never forgive them for what they did. Cruel Dwight, the true heir of the Dwight bloodline, believes he stands far above the rest of the world's scum. He swore that once he escaped, he would burn those traitors to the ground. But now, that heir has been floored by the person he looked down on. They head into Snake Gorge, the only path beneath the rocks. It got its name because it twists exactly like a serpent. Legends say no living creature dares to go there. In fact, no one has ever managed to reach the very end of the gorge. Cruel whines and curses the entire way, forced to drag a heavy bag filled with goblin corpses behind him. He demands to know how Jan has the nerve to treat a noble heir this way. He swears Jan will never succeed. The main character just tugs on the leash, telling him to shut his mouth and move his feet faster. Why is he still talking about his family? How much longer is he going to whine about being the heir to an earl? They have a long journey ahead. When Cruel indignantly tells him to pull the bag himself, Jan just stares him down. Jan tells him this is his own fault. This is actually a very light punishment for an idiot who tried to commit murder. He shouts, wondering what he plans to do with all these goblins. Jan just tells him to shut up and keep walking. For a supposed expert, this guy complains way too much. He smiles, asking if Jan realizes the Empire will punish him for mistreating a high-ranking aristocrat. Trust me, this noble is about to learn a very painful lesson. Alright, stick with me. We're starting with an arrogant heir getting a face full of rock. He's the Count's son, but that didn't stop him from catching a stone right in the nose. Jan tells him to move it. Do aristocrats suddenly stop feeling pain when they get hit? Cruel is basically in tears, wondering who this psycho is. He thinks he can turn the tables with a sudden dirty surprise attack. Too bad for him. Every single time he moves in, he gets clocked right in the jaw. This level of humiliation? He never saw it coming. He keeps moving, and Jan gives him some free advice if you screw up. Just apologize properly. Do that, and maybe you'll stop catching these hands. Does he get it? He stays quiet, but inside, he's fuming. There's no way he's losing to this guy. His mana flow is a mess right now, but he's plotting. As soon as his energy recharges, he's going to end Jan's life. Jan reads him like an open book. He shoots him a terrifying look and asks if he needs another lesson. Cruel is shaking with rage, ready to scream, "I will kill you," but he catches himself. Instead, he forced a smile and says he actually respects him and wants to be best friends. Jan just asks, does he really think his thoughts are private? He better shut his mouth right now, unless he wants to spend the rest of his life crawling like a bug. Cruel goes silent. Jan watches him, noting that while the guy has a strong will to survive, the energy rolling off him is completely unstable. Only one thing produces a vibe that twisted demonic knowledge. If there are sorcerers who wield black magic, then there are definitely warriors who infuse that same darkness into their swordplay. Now pay attention, because this path is a trap. You get strong fast, but the darkness rots your mind and body until you're nothing but a raving lunatic. In his previous life, Cruel was known as the Blood Star, a tyrant who ruled through pure cruelty. Was that just his personality, or the demonic influence talking? He clearly hasn't mastered it yet. Cruel begs for a break, asking to at least take off the collar. Jan just stares. Is he planning to bolt? Cruel swears there's nowhere to go anyway. He's not an animal, and honestly, walking around like this looks ridiculous. Who walks a grown man on a leash? Does Jan even realize how insane they look to everyone else? Jan actually agrees and pops the collar off. Cruel exhales with massive relief, finally able to take a normal breath without choking. He honestly thought he'd be wearing that chain forever, but Jan just tells him that his suffering is about to reach its end. They've arrived, but Cruel still has no idea where here is. You and I both know that it's the look of a big reveal. Jan points down into the abyss where a palace hides, housing something far worse than treasure. Cruel hurls the monster corpses into the pit, complaining the whole time. He can't believe he had to carry these things just to dump them. He tosses the last of the goblins and asks if his shift is finally over. As a reward, Jan offers some parting advice. He gives a chilling smile and tells him to run as fast as possible and never look back. The moment the bodies hit the floor of the abyss, two glowing eyes snap open in the dark. The corpses land right on top of a massive black seal. It starts to pulse with light, and a deep, ancient voice echoes out. Who dares to wake him? A thunderous roar shakes the ground, and Cruel screams, asking Jan what the hell he just did. Jan just turns it back on him. The real question is, what is that thing doing? The beast approaches, demanding their very souls. Over at the other group, Kasha looks at Lorena. She felt that shift in the air, too. It's unmistakable. There's an insane amount of black magic pulsing from the Snake Gorge. Something terrible just went down over there. Lorena admits she's never felt anything this overwhelming before. The sheer power is terrifying. She immediately calls for a total change of plans. She orders everyone back to the gate right now. Kasha is stunned, asking what's going on. Why the rush? Lorena ignores her and screams for everyone's attention. They are evacuating to the gate this instant. She tells them to drop their gear, even the precious mana stones. When someone asks about the exam, she just screams to evacuate. Tell them to run. The students obey immediately, but Kasha catches up, still trying to understand why Lorena is so panicked. Lorena brings up the question about how strong the magic felt. Kasha nods, waiting for the answer. Lorena mutters that it's as strong as her father's power. Kasha freezes. Her father? That's impossible. He's the divine guardian of the North, a man of legendary strength. Can a single monster really match his power? Kasha realizes that not a single instructor here could stop a beast like that. The situation is beyond terrifying. Back at the station, an instructor points at the sky, asking what the hell is flying up there. His partner just tells him to stop talking nonsense. A voice whispers that it still isn't enough, it needs more. Just like that, the instructors are wiped out. Roman's comrade screams in pure terror, but Roman has no answers. Stick around, because this nightmare is just getting started. Alright, you and I are diving into a nightmare, where bodies are engulfed in flames and monsters demand your very soul. Cadet sprinted down the path, shouting that the enemy was closing in on the gates. Then, a sudden sound forced everyone to halt. Who is this guy? A figure approached, a haunting voice echoing inside their minds. He told them to keep moving in a low, distorted tone. He screamed at them to surrender. Give me your soul, he bellowed with terrifying force. Kasha watched in shock as the man suddenly collapsed dead. Lena cried out, fearing an ambush. But Kasha pointed toward a new horror. Blood pooled into a sinister pattern, forming a magic seal. That chilling voice whispered one thing. He found them. Cadets clutched their skulls in agony, screaming as Lorena warned them to stay sharp. The voice confirmed they were the ones. They had disturbed his slumber. A skeletal hand reached out as the voice thanked them for finally waking him up. He promised to repay them with agony. The ancient lich manifested, sealing their fate as the wizards felt pure despair. Magic is infinite, but a human life is fleeting. Yet power-hungry mages found a dark path to master every spell. Trading their souls for immortality, they became monsters fueled by hatred for the living. The ancient lich. The cadets shrieked in pain, holding their heads. Lena gasped as she realized this was no ordinary monster. This thing has eaten souls for eternity. But pay attention here, because its timing is absolutely suspicious. Todd questioned the sudden retreat, but Roman barked at him to shut up and keep his eyes open. What happened here? Jake stared at the fallen cadets in horror. Roman gritted his teeth, his mind flashing to Yan. Back before they entered the Blade Mountain range, Roman had pulled the main character aside. Jan, he had said. He hadn't escaped the situation either, but things weren't that bad, right? Jan just replied that he talked too much. Roman suggested they stick together since the mountains were lethal alone. Jan simply told him to suit himself. He planned to go solo, but since they shared a goal, he decided to give Roman a warning. What is it? If a disaster starts brewing, Jan told him to forget the exam and sprint for the gate immediately. Now Roman realized Jan saw this coming. He planned for it. But what exactly did that guy do? The Lich mocked them as pathetic mortals for disturbing his slumber. A scream pierced the air. Forget the gate. Head for the other exits. Number 3 is the closest. Lena commanded the group to evacuate immediately. Kasia begged Lena to run, but she refused. Drawing her blade, Lena stood her ground to hold the monster back. She told Kasia to save the others. Kasia cried out that Lena couldn't face this thing alone. Lena reminded her she had a family to return to. Sobbing, Kasia finally agreed to follow the plan. Kasia gritted her teeth and prayed for Lena's safety. The Lich just laughed, calling her sacrifice incredibly stupid. Okay, I know what you're thinking. She stands no chance, right? Well, let's see about that. First, her blade was pure mithril, the ultimate bane of the undead. Suddenly, a swarm of magical skulls materialized. He ordered her to die as the skulls lunged. Lena activated her skills, moving with the speed of a windbird. She tightened her grip on the hilt and hurled the blade straight into the center of the skulls. Lena vaulted onto the slope with a battle cry, launching her second strategy against the ancient Lich. Mages can't cast offense and defense simultaneously. If she could exploit that weakness, she might actually survive this. Another spell echoed, making her eyes go wide. Was that a seal of protection? It couldn't be. The Lich raised a shield while his skulls launched magic. Lena was horrified. The skulls could cast spells themselves? How many spells could these damn things use? A blast targeted her, and Lena shrieked as her sword was knocked away. The skulls pinned her down like a living nightmare. Lena thrashed in anger, calling the Lich a vile monster. She demanded he release her. The Lich just chuckled, claiming her rare courage was exactly what he needed. He would crush her noble spirit and turn her into a mindless corpse, bound to his will forever. Lorena spotted a glowing gem in the creature's skull. Meanwhile, someone was infiltrating the Lich's lair, calling him defenseless. Fire and lightning magic detonated against the ceiling. The intruder admitted that robbing an empty lair wasn't as easy as expected. And that intruder was our main character. Removing his mask, Jan noted the heavy security. Luckily, he had come prepared for a warm welcome. He discarded a volcanic armadillo shell, a piece of gear perfectly suited for tanking fire magic. You and I just saw a master at work distracting a Lich to rob him blind. Epic, right? Alright, you and I are about to watch a master at work as he baits the Lich out just to swipe its legendary treasure. It is totally doable if you know the exact layout of this ancient death trap. He knew everything about this Lich from his time as captain, including the classified report under case number A58211567. An ancient Lich. The targets? The first training group of the special squad. Location, Bladespine. This high-ranking monster slaughtered 900 cadets out of 1,000, leaving only 100 shell-shocked survivors and a mountain of bodies. The massacre was so brutal, it almost shut the entire training center down forever. Reports said this Lich had been sleeping for ages before something finally woke it up. It tasted the blood of an intruder and woke up hungry, revealing the hidden location of its massive treasure. The lair was an ancient relic, packed with mysterious artifacts from a forgotten era of history. One book could make you a sage, and just a single gold coin was enough to live like a king forever. Now pay attention, because the real prize isn't gold, it's the vessel of life. A magical egg that stores the Lich's entire life force and mana. The treasure he lost in his past life is waiting right here for him. Imperial scrolls claim you can take the power inside, but absorbing its full, godlike potential is supposedly impossible for any human. What the scrolls missed was that by combining the vessel with specific mana stones, reaching that level of absolute power becomes totally feasible for him. He could finally master the divine dragon's breath. Jan grinned, knowing he was about to blow past his previous limits. Then, he suddenly stopped and whispered, "He is here. The Lich's ancient altar should be right here on the lower floor, just like the report said." Time to test his luck. He tried to enter the hall but got violently blasted back as a glowing seal appeared. The main character groaned. The gate's guardian noticed him before he even got close. Talk about a warm welcome. A disembodied ghost? This just got complicated. The magic seal's face lock didn't recognize him at all. The lock failed, but our main character has a backup. The report mentioned a specific spot around here. Found it. He pressed the wall, and a secret slave passage groaned open. Jan knew this was the way. Supplemental reports confirmed the lair used to house thousands of slaves in the ancient past. A passage was found. This labyrinth is crawling with primitive, deadly traps. It'll take time to clear this, but you and I know that as a former special squad captain, nothing's stopping him. High risk means high rewards. Meanwhile, a skeleton lunged at Lena as she screamed, "What can a bag of bones even do?" The Lich cackled, reeking of rot, and said he was looking forward to watching her soul suffer in pure agony. He would rip her head off for a pet, or maybe stitch it onto the body of a filthy orc. Maybe a flesh-eating zombie? Let's see if she's still so arrogant then. He sent his tentacles toward her, telling her to shut up as he launched a final, laughing attack. Lena screamed. Did he really think some cheap intimidation would actually work on her? The Lich roared, promising to leave nothing but dust. He unleashed the devastating dark fracture magic, but then he stopped. His eyes suddenly went wide in shock. Lena looked up, confused. Why did this monster suddenly stop his attack? The Lich felt it. A strange sensation. The barrier on his altar had just been shattered. Who broke in? She was just bait. He gripped her neck and realized he had been played from the start. While he was busy here, some rat had crawled into his home. Lena asked about the bait, but he just slammed her down and told her to shut up. Vile girl. He turned instantly, needing to return to his shelter and open the gates. Gate number 1275. A black seal swallowed him as he hissed about getting back to the altar. Lena sat up, wondering where he went. The Lich teleported back, screaming about the idiot who dared touch his altar. He couldn't believe anyone actually made it through all those traps. His 1,000-year-old barrier was gone. Nobody should know where this altar is. Was it the Magic Guild, the Emperor's Knights, or someone even more dangerous? He checked the floor. Did someone actually drink his sacred elixirs? He spent 10 centuries perfecting those mixtures just to restore his mana and physical strength. 1,000 years of work, gone. Then the main character spoke up from behind, casually mentioning that those extra elixirs of his tasted pretty damn good. The Lich spun around. So it was him? You and I both know this Lich is about to lose it. Alright, you and I are diving into the most disrespectful boss fight ever. Jan tells him to chill out and just share a drink, even though he is overdosing on magic. See, when you burn through that much mana, it hits you just like a heavy night of drinking. Our hero asks if he knew that saving the best for last is a mistake. The Lich cannot believe a drunk teen is his actual opponent. The barrier shattered like glass. Our main character just looks at him, completely unbothered by the Lich's power. He was in such a rush that he ruined the Lich's fun by walking straight through the front door. Mammon tells him to shut his mouth. He plans to kill him first, then move on to everyone outside. Did the Lich really think he would miss a rat? Jan just notes the Lich failed to see his item being stolen. As he walks through the tunnel, the confused Lich wonders why he bothered breaking the front entrance barrier at all. Our hero just smiles and says he did it because he felt like it. Talk about a power move. Beyond the elixirs, there are tons of ancient texts here, including a book on mana engines. Was this monster possessed to collect all these works? The Lich laughs, revealing his name is Mammon, and asks if the boy knows where he got all this. He spent 10 centuries becoming an undead just for revenge, preparing his dark plans for 1,000 years. Now a mere rat is trying to ruin his 1,000-year plan to reclaim everything the person who betrayed him once took away. He cursed his own soul to live as an undead, yet all those grand designs are failing because of this boy. Jan just sips his potion and tells him to keep going. He is so drunk he is barely paying attention. Mammon reaches out, disgusted by how much self-importance this little fool seems to have. He launches a massive flame spell to burn the arrogance out of him, but Jan just closes his eyes and calmly tells him to stop. The Lich freezes, confused why his mana stopped flowing. Jan just smirks because the monster is finally catching on. The Lich screams for his life vessel. But look at Jan's chest, you and I just saw him eat the thing. That was the mana heart. He literally used the Lich's life vessel to forge a brand new heart for himself. The monster is in shock. How could a human even know how to perform a feat like that? Soon, our hero is sprinting across a bridge under a rain of fire magic. Mammon is chasing him, screaming in pure rage that he is worthless. Will he actually escape his death? Jan just tells him he should just stand right there. He absorbed the vessel. If the Lich kills him, the monster dies too, but Mammon has a darker plan. He plans to be reborn inside the boy's body. Jan turns around, asking him to repeat that insane claim. Since his 1,000-year plan is ruined, Mammon decides that taking Jan's young body in exchange for his lost vessel is a fair trade. Plus, that body is loaded with elixir power. Our hero is shocked the Lich actually thinks he can steal his form. He apologizes, but that is definitely not happening. Mammon just screams for him to surrender his flesh immediately. He promises to treat the body well once it is his, launching a massive curse storm and chain spells. Jan has no choice but to activate multiple magic seals at once, releasing the legendary Divine Dragon Breath, and also activating his new mana heart. The seals shatter. The Lich is stunned he hasn't felt this kind of power in a very long time. Suddenly, our hero sneaks up behind him. He mocks the Lich for being so worried about his future body. Mammon misses with a dark spell and screams at his speed. Jan just keeps running, smashing through every door in his path. Things are getting intense. Mana is pumping through his new heart, just like air moving through his lungs. This is it, the combined power of the dragon's breath, monster stones, and that stolen life vessel. You and I both know Yan is a beast, but he is literally eating everything to get stronger. At this rate, he will soon restore the strength of his past life. No, he might actually become way stronger. He hits a wall. The exit is gone. He wonders how the door could have just vanished like that. Mammon catches up, laughing like a maniac. He calls the boy a rat that is finally choking on its poison. Every trap is active and the doors are sealed. Yan realizes he has absolutely nowhere left to run. He thinks he might have to kill the lich, but he has no weapons or tools left to fight. He is completely defenseless. Mammon screams that he is going to tear him limb from limb. A massive dragon skull summons and charges at him. Yan is trapped, searching for any way to survive this monster's final assault. Stick with me, because this sudden voice and this insane cliffhanger are about to change everything for our main character right now. Alright, stick with me because you and I are about to see Leon step onto the battlefield. He knows an emergency broke out during the exam, and he is not about to let this monster get away with it. He never imagined that such a foul beast had been hiding in this place. Because of this creature, hundreds of cadets and innocent people have died. So many young flowers withered away before they even had a chance to bloom. Leon roars in fury, vowing that he will never forgive him. Meanwhile, Mayman watches in silence while Yan bows to greet his highness. Leon turns around, confused. Is that the same cadet volunteer from before? What on earth is he doing here? The main character explains that he chased the lich alone and got trapped. Leon realizes this kid was the one who revealed the monster's location and commends him. He orders him to escape immediately. Yan just grins, thinking Roman did a perfect job by getting the crown prince here right on time. See, right before the first exam, our main character gave specific orders for when they reached the gate. Roman was supposed to send the coordinates to the head instructor, but he had to ensure the crown prince heard them too. He would shout the location for everyone to hear. Pay attention here, because Mammon is sensing something impossible. How could this energy be connected to Bahamut? Leon is shocked that he's mentioning the Empire's founding father. Maimon just screams the name in disbelief and pure rage. He realizes the royal bloodline flows in Leon. He laughs at how stupid they all are, calling this a special day that reminds him of the old times. His mind drifts back to the words that were spoken to him so long ago. It was wonderful that he created the breath of the divine dragon. He had performed his duty perfectly. But then came the betrayal. The breath could only belong to one person. Bahamut screamed as he realized the descendant of his enemy was standing right there. Years ago, the wizard stood in the library casting spells, driven by a dark and dangerous curiosity. He wanted to stabilize the dungeon's energy while expanding the absorption power of the mana circle to its absolute limit. He wondered how much power he could truly gain if he combined everything into one perfect vessel. To find out, he began conducting horrific experiments on the body of his closest friend, Bahamut. The experiments worked. He recreated the body with a new type of mana, and that's how the mana heart was born. Bahamut flexed his new strength, but Mammon just told him to get dressed and stop showing off. The data showed incredible results. He asked if Bahamut felt different. The response was a pleasant sensation, one that would allow him to create an entirely new combat technique. Together, they forged a weapon powered by the mana heart. Bahamut named it the Breath of the Divine Dragon. Mammon turned away, secretly plotting. These weren't even the heart's full capabilities. The more he studied it, the more he wanted. Bahamut suddenly asked for forgiveness. Mammon was confused and asked what on earth he was talking about. He looked at his own hands in shock as Bahamut told him his role was over. Mammon screamed, unable to believe his friend was betraying him. Bahamut called Mammon a wonderful friend. It was almost touching, in a twisted and very deadly sort of way. Without Maimon, the mana heart and the dragon's breath wouldn't exist. But now, it was finally time for him to stop. He simply knew too much. Everything they built had to belong to Bahamut alone. And so, the betrayal was complete. Using the last of his magic, Maimon clung to his soul. He repeated the spell over and over, imprinting it onto his own rotting, undead body. Vengeance. He would hunt down the one who took everything from him and give him exactly what he deserves. Trust me, 1,000 years of pure hatred is about to explode. This betrayal will finally be settled in blood. Mammon rushes forward, his eyes wide with shock. He screams at the insolent idiot standing in his way. He casts a parallel chain spell, swearing to crush him to dust. But Leon counters with the secret technique of the dragon's breath, shattering the seals. He swings his blade with everything he has, unleashing the devastating Yellow Dragon River attack. Mammon screams Bahamut's name. Even in death, his old friend torments him. Leon warns the Lich to never speak that name again. Both warriors launch off the floor in a brutal clash. Mammon realizes Leon is actively preventing the magic circle from activating. He orders his slaves to bind Leon's legs. But Leon just screams back, asking if the Lich really thinks sorcery can stop him. This is even better since they met here. He triggers the third form of yellow dragon summoning, calling forth the evil dragon spirit. Maimon is losing it, screaming at the brat to die as he prepares his next dark spell. He fuels his weapon with fourth-tier dark magic, while Leon unleashes the seventh form of summoning and the third form of the dragon sword. Maimon commands the pest to disappear forever. He reaches out, unleashing a terrifying wave of fifth-tier annihilation magic. Leon grips the hilt of the noble imperial sword. Their massive attacks collide, causing a blinding explosion that rocks the entire area. The main character watches the chaos, stunned. He can't believe Leon is actually fighting a lich on equal terms like this. You and I just saw a power that shouldn't even be human. So who's the real monster here? Guess we'll find out. Alright, stick with me. You and I are about to see just how terrifying the Crown Prince really is. Of course, a real fight won't happen today. Right now, his top priority is finding his missing family. Should he make a break for it? Suddenly, a voice booms from behind. Where exactly does he think he's going? Rodrigo grabs his shoulder, saying the fun has only just started. Jan realizes he completely forgot about this guy. Rodrigo notes how strange it is. First, the escapees, now a lich, and this kid is always in the middle of it. Number 974. The main character turns to the captain, who expects to be treated with proper respect. Jan gives a quick, "Yes, Lord Captain." Rodrigo sighs, complaining about the terrible state of modern military education. This isn't even about combat drills, it's basic manners. How are they training the young people these days? Our main character just sees another grumpy old man. The instructor tried hiding the breakout, but the secret is out. A moment ago, Rodrigo asked about the escape. Apparently, only 4 cadets actually made it out. They were cadets numbered 10 to 900. 3 of them were caught in the nearby woods almost immediately. While searching for the last one, the pursuit squad was found dead, and the target's location remained a total mystery. Now pay attention, because the captain is finally starting to realize who he's actually talking to right now. Rodrigo adds that he heard even the head instructor had to personally go out looking for this kid. How did a low ranker survive the pursuit squad, the instructor, and now an ancient lich? It doesn't add up. Is he going to claim it was just luck? He's not buying it. Jan replies it was super luck. He claims he must have been a saint in a past life. Rodrigo thinks this kid talks like an old man. Jan insists he had no way out. A few more minutes and he would have been the lich's next victim. But then the prince arrived to save the day. Rodrigo asks if he really thinks anyone will believe that's luck. Jan pushes it, asking if having good luck is now a crime. Rodrigo just shouts in pure frustration at his audacity. How can he be this disrespectful? He's only rank 974, yet his ego is absolutely massive. Maybe he's the secret son of some high-ranking noble? No way. Then Jan asks if he can help the prince. Help him? That's insane. If he enters the fray, he'll just be a distraction, and there's no room for anyone else. Jan observes the battle. The lich lost his vessel of life, but he's still clinging to existence. What if he didn't fully absorb it? He might activate his mana heart using whatever power is left in that vessel. Leon swings his sword for the final blow. You and I might think it's over, but this lich isn't finished yet. Why is he retreating? Momon tells him to shut up. He can feel his magic power dropping fast. It feels like his magic is being drained away. He looks at our main character, who gives a mocking thumbs up. This brat is looking down on him. He swears the kid won't figure out what's really happening. Momon shreds his clothes, screaming that he'll steal this body. Leon realizes this is the final stand. He's going to kill them all. A portal opens in his chest as he unleashes his domain. Domain expansion. It's a state where a mage's deepest, darkest desires are manifested into the physical world. This level of magic is reserved for only the 4 strongest family heads in the entire empire. Leon recognizes the move. Momon orders the descendant of Bahamut to die as he unleashes hell. He's trying to drag everyone to the grave. Leon can't let that happen. It's time for total devastation. He pours everything into the attack. Momon looks on in shock as Leon prepares his final strike. Rupture. He's ending this now. Using the 5 senses of the yellow dragon, he shatters his own sword for power. Momon screams that it's useless. The domain is active, and he thinks a single physical attack can't stop it. Leon reforms his blade, calling on the dragon's sword. With the yellow dragon's power, he lunges at Momon. The lich screams it's not over, but Leon knows better. Right before his eyes, his plans turn to ash. He had been secretly plotting this for 1,000 years. A whole millennium. Gone. For thousands of years he held onto that grudge, and some random kid ruined it all. He calls to Bahamut. If his life was for him, it wasn't a waste. Momon vanishes, and Leon finally breathes it's over. What a monstrous creature. That domain expansion was real. If it had been perfect, they'd all be dead right now. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You and I won't want to miss what happens next. Stick with me, you and I are jumping right into the aftermath of this high-stakes exam. The prince checks on the cadet, asking if he is hurt. The main character says, "He saved his life, Your Highness." "Thank you." Leon orders Rodrigo to get the cadet to the infirmary. Rodrigo agrees immediately as Jan thinks to himself. Everything in the Blade Mountain range went exactly as planned. Honestly, the results were even better than expected. Using the life vessel, he forged a human heart and discovered the prince's true limits. He owes Momin big time. He pulled it all off with that help. As they head out, Momin begins shifting back from his rag form. Later, the main character relaxes in his room. He realizes it has been a long time since he enjoyed a drink. He used to drink like this in his past life. Finally, he can relax. To him, it feels like everything that happened in the mountains happened an eternity ago. This mansion-style building is where the cadets actually live. It is a world away from his past. Aristocrats live in luxury like this. This castle is nothing like the mass grave he used to call home. His old cell was just 5 square meters of chains, filth, and cockroaches. This mansion is 82 square meters with a soft bed, a shower, and actual food. It is an insane upgrade. The main character checks his results and realizes he did well. The official rankings were finally announced to everyone. The instructor begins by thanking everyone for their hard work. The first test was nearly derailed by a massive emergency. But thanks to the incredible bravery of His Highness, Crown Prince Leon, everything was settled, and the exams finished safely. Surviving that chaos is a badge of honor. Now, pay attention, because these rankings decide who gets the real power. The top 10 get the highest scores. Ranks 11 through 100 are average, the rest are bottom tier. Kasha looks around and notices the head instructor hasn't shown up. Something definitely feels off about that. These scores determine where you live. Plus, those at the top gain entry into the legendary Imperial Armory. It is the dream of every cadet looking for power. They are actually allowed inside the Imperial Armory. It holds treasures and weapons from the founding of the Empire. We are talking hundreds of the most advanced swords and ancient books within its walls. Some say the library itself is as massive as an entire fortress. Top 10 get access to the 3rd floor, while the top 100 reach the 2nd. The rest are stuck on level 1. Now for the results. Roman is shocked. Only 5th place? He took down a massive number of rare goblins in the mountains. He clearly expected a much better rank. Cruel takes 4th. He managed to conquer an entire troll's lair all by himself. He claims they are just being stingy with the top floors by holding people back. In 3rd place, we have the talented Kasha Everain. She wiped out an orc village without taking a single hit. She just smiles like it was nothing. 2nd place is Lena Beolf for soloing a golden ogre. Everyone assumed she would be number 1. Her fans are stunned, but Lena is fuming. You and I can see this ranking makes 0 sense to her. She thinks her rank is a complete joke. Against a real monster, she was helpless. She knows she needs to become stronger. Cruel starts mocking her. He is loving how pathetic the great Princess Lena looks right now. He calls her arrogant for thinking she could save everyone. Now, she cannot even hold her top rank. The crowd whispers that she is the only one who stopped the Lich. To them, she is the absolute pride of high society and a hero. Kasha tells her to ignore him. Ever since they got back from the mountain range, Cruel's attitude has just gotten way nastier. Lena tells her to be quiet. Cruel brings up another interesting rumor. He claims she never fought the Lich, but actually begged for her life. Lena calmly admits her skills were not enough to win. She thanks him for the concern but tells him to focus on his own failing grades instead. Cruel loses it. He shouts, demanding to know what she just said. He grins, suggesting she is a good person who might just take the place of the deceased Duke Wolf. She turns to leave, but he keeps talking. The Wolf family title is totally vacant. Her brother was supposed to inherit it, but his death left the position wide open. Cruel thinks she has been waiting for this moment. He is determined to expose her true self. He implies she arranged her brother's death just to steal the title. If that is true, then she really is something else. Lena has a question for him too. She asks him to guess whether he's about to die right here. It is a simple question, right? Cruel rages, telling her she is no better than him. He is done playing around with her. He releases his mana, daring her to attack. Trust me, you and I are not going to want to miss this epic showdown. Stick with me here, because you and I are watching him grab that ear as they threaten to unmask him or leave him standing there. Cruel was losing it, screaming for whoever dared to touch him to stop before his ear got ripped completely off his head. But the man just ignored him, announcing that the student who took first place was number 974, a kid named Jan. Our main character held Cruel by the ear while the bully yelled that Jan was nothing but a savage who somehow took the top spot. Everyone was in total shock. How could a low-rank cadet like 9,974 actually manage to take first place over everyone? Kasha asked if he was the leader now, while Cruel roared that Jan better let go immediately or he would regret it forever. But Cruel's tough act crumbled in a second as he whimpered that he was just in a lot of physical pain. Lena walked up, saying it had been a while, and told Jan there was no need to call her miss or use formal titles. When he asked how she and Cruel met, she just brushed it off as a chance encounter during their recent exams. As the results wrapped up, Jan told Lena he was just glad she made it out of there without any serious injuries. She thanked him, but inside she was reeling, wondering how he managed to make someone as arrogant as Cruel so terrified of him. Now, pay attention here, because Lena could sense a power inside him that felt like it was ready to explode at any moment. She had a million questions she wanted to ask him, but in that moment, she could only manage to say one thing. She called out that Cruel had been insulting him for a long time, though Cruel immediately screamed that she was telling a lie. Later, in his new first-place quarters, Jan realized that sitting still with nothing to do was actually harder than he ever imagined. He started reading a book from the Imperial Armory when he suddenly sensed someone standing right outside his door and told them to enter. Damon cracked the door open, impressed that Jan heard him, thinking he must have been making way too much noise out in the hall. He stepped inside and asked if Jan had forgotten about the unresolved issues that still remained between the two of them. After a while, Jan asked if he liked the wine, mentioning he would have prepared better if he knew Damon was actually coming. Damon called the drink tolerable, but Jan noted that even now, the chief instructor could not hide that intense, commanding aura of his. Damon scoffed, asking how the Crown Prince convinced Jan to do this, since Leon seemed to be incredibly worried about his well-being. It turns out Leon had specifically ordered that number 974 receive the best possible treatment while he was at the academy. Jan was confused by the infatuation, but Damon just shrugged, wondering what else he could possibly do in this situation. Damon still wanted to kill him though, especially after the report came in regarding Simons County and the student number 52. Jan pointed out that place had been a ghost town for years, so finding nothing there was exactly what he expected to happen. Our main character suspected that old fox of a captain had probably used his influence to cover his tracks almost perfectly. He figured the guy knew he was being followed, but Damon said he was not going to accuse him of lying about it. Truth or not, it did not matter anymore, because in Damon's eyes, Jan was now completely and utterly useless to his plans. Damon lunged with his dark spirit sword and split the table in half, but Jan stayed calm and said he did not need to be killed. You and I both saw that coming, right? But Damon was stunned that Jan actually repelled that lethal dark spirit attack. Jan explained he found a vital puzzle piece while studying a book about energy interruption research he found earlier. He had actually swiped that specific research paper from the restricted sections of the Imperial Armory during his visit. He was granted access to the third-floor main armory, but he chose the special library on the first floor where records of past rulers are kept. While most of those dusty old books were about methods for subduing monsters, he was looking for something much more specific. After digging through those books, he finally found a research paper on energy interruption written by Captain Rodrigo himself. Energy interruption is a brutal condition where a person's internal energy simply stops circulating through their body correctly. Usually, the person's life force just drains away, and most victims do not even make it to age 20 before they die. Damon opened the book to look, but Jan asked him to think, did not this research seem incredibly strange to him? Why would a top-tier special forces captain research a disease that he clearly did not have himself? Then it hit him, it was not the captain who was sick. It was his daughter who had been suffering from it. She never left the house because she had no energy, which matched every single symptom described in the captain's research. The captain was not hurting her. He was desperately trying to find a cure, making her his one true weakness this whole time. For the sake of his daughter's treatment, the captain had decided to move, searching for any way to save her life. But finding a real doctor is nearly impossible, and Jan realized he had misjudged the captain's true motives from the start. So what do you and I take from this? Since the daughter was not actually a weak spot, they will never be able to keep the captain on a leash. Alright, you and I are about to see how the chief instructor basically holds the captain's life in his hands. There is still no cure for energy interruption. To keep him stable, he needs a massive amount of expensive medications. He could never have earned that much money legally. This smells like he's been embezzling serious budget funds. And of course, the perfect place to hide those funds is within a special squad. If they find evidence of that embezzlement, hunting this old fox will be easy. But for now, Damien is just guessing. Jan agreed, saying it's a hunch for now. But if it's true, they will finally be able to bury the captain. Plus, they're taking zero risks here. Embezzlement is illegal, giving them every excuse in the book to start an investigation. Damon closed his eyes and whispered that they have every reason they need. This is looking good. He handed the book over, revealing he has an inside man in the Special Forces audit team. Implementing this plan will be extremely easy now. Meanwhile, he'll dig deeper into this disease. Jan realized this whole situation is absolutely incredible. It worked. Everything he said is true. The captain really was stealing money to pay for his daughter's medical treatment. Don't blink, this news hit so hard in his past life that he still remembers it clearly today. Damien mentioned he skipped the third floor to get this book from the first. Our main character was shocked. What use is a weapon if it cannot help him? Damien nodded and agreed with the chief instructor. He headed for the exit, promising to personally compensate him for the loss. His time in the basic training program is finally over. He is ready now. Number 974, he is officially his disciple now. Yan smirked, realizing this was a golden opportunity. Becoming the head instructor's disciple puts him in the perfect position. Still, he played it cool, asking if the kid even deserved it. Damien was completely caught off guard. But isn't he a master warrior? You saw how he perfectly pulled off that ambush, didn't you? Yan countered. In the end, he still caught him. He's worried an inexperienced cadet like that will just ruin his elite reputation. Damon yelled at him to shut up. He's not just a student, he is his brand new toy. Regardless, he needs to prepare himself. Our main character thought this was great, the instructor was getting annoying anyway. Now he can get even closer. This symbol is his family's secret, and he finally has a real chance to uncover it. Arena number 3 is a restricted training ground, only open to the highest-ranking instructors in the academy. Even cadets from noble families can't get in here. Suddenly, a countdown began echoing through the silent training arena. Our main character was crushing one-arm push-ups, hitting 200 before needing a break. This empty place is seriously depressing. He can feel the mana heart starting to change his body. But honestly, the transformation is happening way too slowly. He'll have to train for a long time to make his physical strength match his massive internal energy. He has arena access thanks to the instructor, but everyone else has a different opinion on his special privileges. Roman was angry, but Kashasa was happy. She started watching him even more closely. Now, check this out, I know what you're thinking, but that book choice was a total genius trick. This was exactly what he was searching for. A lost book about the Empire's founding. It looks like a boring history textbook, but it will be legendary. The founding emperor actually wrote this himself. He has the mana heart now, but he still can't use the divine dragon's breath at its full power. This technique was a joint creation between Emperor Bahamut and Momen. He needs both their powers to master it. He needs the Emperor's knowledge now. Honestly, you almost have to feel bad for Momen. He was robbed of his life's work and murdered. That's enough to make anyone a vengeful monster. Let's see here. Is there anything useful in here? His eyes widened in pure shock. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. The rest of the pages are blank too. But the rumors said the founding emperor wrote this specifically. He even killed Momon just to become the sole master of the divine dragon's breath technique. Suddenly, a ghostly energy hand appeared right behind him. Yan spun around instantly, looking for the source. He scanned the area but saw nothing. He just felt like he was being watched. He looked back at the empty page. Still nothing. But then, a crazy idea hit him. He unleashed a dark spirit strike against the training pillar. He tried cutting it, but he's still not succeeding. Suddenly, a voice laughed and called him an idiot. Trust me, it only gets crazier. All right, you and I are diving into a mystery that he can't solve. He hears a voice and then asks, him? Momen steps out from the shadows, mocking the long separation. Yan screams in shock, wondering how that man survived such fatal, bloody wounds. Momen just laughs, realizing that even pathetic little bugs can become a major nuisance if you ignore them for too long. Especially someone like him. The man lunges forward, screaming that he will end it right now. Our main character screams it is a nightmare. The man won't stop, but Yan notices something horrific about his face. Watch closely here, a woman's face erupts from the man, screaming that she will claim his body as her own new vessel. Yan grinds his teeth in pure rage as Momen continues shrieking about stealing his physical form for herself. Our main character isn't fooled. Her distorted appearance doesn't scare him at all. She is nothing but a lich in disguise. He roars for her to die, but she just blurs past him over and over. Yan realizes his mistake. Is he dealing with a ghost, or just a manifestation born from his own thoughts? Maybe even after the lich transformed her living vessel, something remained behind. Momen's heart is just an idea, meaning she is not a real threat. Still, her circling him and laughing is starting to get really annoying. Finally, he tells Momen to just move on to the afterlife. Why is she still clinging to this world? He demands to know why her face is changing. She just laughs, claiming the transformation is absolutely wonderful. She has been a walking corpse for ages, but now she is finally regaining her old look as a living sorceress. Yan's mana heart gave her exactly what she needed. She mocks him, asking if he really thought she would just vanish. Now that she is back, she plans on slaughtering every single person who stands in her way. Starting with the descendant of Bahamut, she will hunt down every traitor. But Yan notices something. Is she actually shrinking? She says she is just conserving her magic power. He scoffs, wondering how she will ever get revenge in that tiny state. He jokes she looks like a plastic surgery patient. She fires back that everyone looks the same on the inside. Her entire existence is being fueled by the energy leaking from his own mana heart. Since the connection is so weak, she cannot maintain her true form. She begins to scream in frustration. Despite all the elixirs he has taken, his energy is so pathetic that a common mutt would be stronger. Yan finds her comments incredibly rude. She isn't an immediate threat. but he can clearly sense a steady stream of mana flowing directly toward her. If this connection stays open, she is definitely going to become a massive problem for him later on. She is a high-level mage. If she keeps parasitizing his mana, he might not be able to stop her next time. He looks at her and sighs, realizing there is nothing he can really do about the situation right now. He mockingly tells her to enjoy the view before she vanishes. She snaps back, calling him a sarcastic little brat. Since he does not handle mana well, she doubts he can get rid of her. He is just a fragile human. He simply smiles and says all he has to do is cut her off completely. You saw that coming, right? Our main character points out she is just a parasite on his mana heart. If he simply stops the flow, she cannot manifest. He tells her it is time to disappear because her era ended a long time ago. Furious and terrified, she realizes she has to stay alive no matter what. She shrieks that he will deeply regret letting her disappear forever. She grabs the Book of Bahamut as a last resort, asking if he still wants to learn its secrets. Silence fills the air as our main character slices his hand, letting his blood drip onto the blank pages. He explains that the book needs blood infused with the breath of a divine dragon to activate. She tells him to gradually channel his mana into the book. If he does, the blood will slowly shift into ancient letters. Jan watches as light and darkness begin to merge into a single powerful force. He wonders what kind of nonsense this is. Even Momin herself confesses that she has no clue what Bahamut was trying to say. The founding emperor would not write something so pointless. Suddenly, our main character freezes as his eyes go wide with shock. He realizes the letters are actually lifting off the page. They are floating and rearranging themselves into entirely new words. He watches in awe as the sentences drift toward his body, gathering together to form a brand new mana heart. It is not just one heart, the letters are passing through and forming entirely new ones. Suddenly, she calls out, making him drop the book. She asks why he is so clumsy, but he just stares at the floor. Was all of that just his imagination? A new heart forms, trust me, you and I will want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to uncover a secret so dangerous it could be lethal. Bahamut, that's the mystery hidden here. He walked toward Moman and told her to fall in line, promising that he'd find a way for them in the future. When she asked what he meant, he clarified that he'd find a way to get her a new body. She couldn't stay a parasite forever. They would study the matter together. Realizing his tactic, Moman got excited and asked if he was actually being serious for once. He's usually such a smooth talker, so what changed? He just told her not to get her hopes up too high yet. She knew he wouldn't help for nothing, right? He warned her not to try anything funny, and she obediently agreed to play along. Secretly, she thought he was an idiot for thinking she'd actually help him. She was just low on energy right now, but that wouldn't last. As soon as she's back to full strength, he'll be the first one she kills. She watched him walk away with a wicked smirk. Jan turned around, thinking it was risky to keep her around, while she wondered why he was even bothering with all this. They were sharing the same body now, after all. But Jan snapped back, reminding her that this was his body, and never hers. Evening eventually fell, painting the sky in a bright, glowing sunset. As the leaves began to wither away, the atmosphere grew heavy. Now watch this. This is where it gets explosive as Jan swings with a bright beam of light. His muscles surged as he pushed through the fragments and beams of light, refusing to back down from the intense fight. Even as everything began to glow, he didn't stop. He moved through the light with perfect form, engaging with every strike and turn. He raised his hand, gasping for air as he stared ahead. Standing right across from him was the head instructor. Jan charged forward at high speed, but suddenly, a terrifying dark magical power began leaking from the instructor. Seeing this, Jan tensed up. The head instructor began gathering that dark energy between his hands, raising it high as the pressure spiked. He manifested a massive magic sword and began to swing it, getting ready to end this duel for good. He locked eyes with his opponent, and the main character quickly moved to cover his chest and face with both hands. The instructor struck with lethal force. Jan was stunned as the world went quiet, before everything was suddenly swallowed by a blinding flash of light. After a long silence, the instructor muttered that what he just saw was simply incredible. Jan was fighting with a genuine intent to kill, even with his power limited. The instructor wasn't even sure he'd survive. Jan approached him and coolly stated that he had no intention of killing him during a simple spar. After all, the instructor hadn't even taught him how to block a move like that yet. Shouldn't he be teaching? The instructor told him to use every defensive skill, jumping higher and using centrifugal force. Jan just replied that he was already jumping. He thought the guy was totally insane, coming at him with a real, lethal blade throughout their entire training session. Luckily, that one paragraph about the Empire's founding was useful. If not for that, there wouldn't even be tree stumps left standing. Mulman, watching from nearby, noted that he clearly knew how to wield the power of the Dark Dragon's breath. Jan turned in shock, asking about a Dark Dragon. Mulman wondered who this guy was, since he clearly wasn't a weakling like Jan. Jan snapped back. asking if she just called him small. He told her to stop wasting his mana and get lost. She explained he was the head instructor, but the energy felt familiar. Jan was confused. Head instructor? Okay, I know what you're thinking, and yeah, it's wild. This guy is the current emperor and the empire's legendary founder, she gasped. A descendant of Bahamut? There was no way she was letting this go after what happened in the past. He needed to pay for the sins of his ancestors with his life. Meanwhile, the instructor wondered why his shoulder suddenly hurt. Molman had started hitting him invisibly. The instructor just sighed about how nice it was to relax and spend time with his student. Relaxing? Jan asked if he was serious. He had just witnessed the first form of the Dark Breath Sword, the Cowardice Killer. None of the other cadets had even seen the second form yet. Do you know why that is? Because nobody has ever survived the first one. How boring. He's curious to see just how long student number 974 can hold out. Jan repeated the words to himself. He smiled, saying he hoped there were many forms, because he wasn't planning on going anywhere soon. If they had lessons every single day, that would be 365 forms. The instructor liked his audacity, but reminded him that mastering even a single form usually takes several decades. Jan replied that the instructor shouldn't worry about the forms. From now on, he should only worry about the consequences of these lessons. And just like that, their brutal battle continued into the night. The instructor struggled against the main character, who threw him aside before manifesting dark energy around his hand to summon a sword. With a smirk, he approaches his opponent. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see where this training leads. Alright, you and I are about to witness how 2 years changed everything, especially since the Academy just announced that only the top 50 cadets will make the cut. The drills are familiar, but the stakes are higher. The losers get sent to separate. Grueling training camps away from the elite. Once again, Jan crushes Lena. She is completely baffled since the guy hasn't even shown up to the training grounds lately. He's still rank 1. How is he training? Lena's fuming and wants to find out where he's hiding. She's been slitting the throats of terrifying beasts day and night just to snatch that top spot away during the next exam. Sitting at rank 2 isn't enough for her. This time, she's determined to leave him in the dust for good. Suddenly, a massive rank. A worm monster lets out a bone-chilling roar and a weird meow right in her face. As the beast lunges, Lena doesn't even blink. One effortless swing and the monster is absolute history, destroyed with zero effort. She whispers for Jan to wait. Victory will be hers the very next time they meet. Now pay attention, because the final test of the third arena is finally here. They have to spar with the instructors to join the special squad. Meanwhile, the rest of the guys are just bored, complaining and wondering when this whole event is finally going to end. It's a total formality for Lena. She's ranked 2nd overall and basically outclasses everyone in the top tier. Most elite cadets are actually stronger than the assistant instructors these days, even though they couldn't beat them a year ago. But if you skip this test, you're not getting into the special squad. So, they have no choice but to show up. Jan has to show up eventually, and Lena is going to personally test the guy's real abilities once he arrives. She freezes mid-thought. Someone's yelling that the current test is already over and the assessment is finished. The trainee gets his final grade and is ordered to head back to his seat in the stands. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light erupts as someone screams for a real fight. Does he honestly think that screaming stop in a real battle actually works? It's Cruel, the sadistic rank 3 cadet. He's acting brutal, claiming that in the real world, fights only end when the enemy dies. Is he seriously having fun with this? Does he think wearing that assistant uniform gives him the right to treat an aristocrat like trash? He swings his arm, but the instructor screams for him to stop. Lena watches in total disgust, realizing this whole thing is just a sick game to him. The guy is acting like a complete psycho, and everyone is whispering about how rude and unhinged his behavior has become. Roman notes that Cruel started acting like he owns the world ever since the head instructor stopped showing up to training. Casa feels sorry for the instructor's assistant and begs Roman to step in and help before things get even worse. Roman's not having it. How many low-level cadets have these instructors killed already? It's every man for himself out here. Casa realizes Roman has chickened out and turns back to Lena to see what she thinks. Lena thinks the two of them are a perfect match, leaving Roman completely stunned by the comment. Trust me, the guy has been a total psycho ever since he murdered that instructor's assistant 2 years ago and completely lost his mind. Why hasn't anyone put this mad dog on a leash yet? He's from a powerful family, so even Roman avoids him. Roman tries to deny it, but it's pretty obvious. Roman claims he's just staying clean and not avoiding him, but Casa isn't buying his excuses for a second. Lena's not convinced either. Training is ending soon, and nobody wants to cross the Dwight family before they graduate. Suddenly, the instructor's sword snaps in half. Cruel starts lunging at the man, screaming that he can't fight back without a weapon. The assistant screams for mercy as Cruel closes in for the final blow. Lena's eyes flash and everything freezes. The instructor stands there, completely bewildered by what just happened. Cruel recognizes her ice axe technique. Lena just couldn't sit back and watch that unbearable slaughter continue any longer. He asks if she's really messing with his family's legendary wolf ice sword right now. This is a family talent after all. Lena warns him to back off. Cruel just laughs, saying he's wanted to finish her off before graduation and the moment is finally here. She calls him a total jerk. Cruel just grins, baring his sharp fangs and promising this will be the very last test of her entire life. Lena claps back, mocking him for only picking on the weak. It's time he finally fought someone who could actually hit back. He mocks her noble attitude as his murderous intent reaches a fever pitch. He's ready to go all out. He's dying to see her noble face twisted in shame, mocking her as Lady Lena. Then, in an instant, the battle begins. Stick with me, a massive storm of wind and light is about to engulf the entire battlefield. All right, you and I are about to see a match turn deadly. Lena strikes first, screaming that if he wanted a sword so bad, he should have just asked. He roars back that he can crush a dog like her with his bare hands. They start wrestling, and Roman can already tell who the winner is. Casa asks if he sees it too. He notes that Lorena is taking the lead. After 30 brutal strikes, it's getting hard for Cruel to keep up. Casa is glad she's winning, but she senses a strange, dark energy leaking from him periodically. As a member of the Dwight family, he's never used the secret techniques of the Special Dark Squad before. If he actually uses them, things will get ugly. Plus, unlike Lena, he is fighting to kill. Roman calls out to Casa, asking what she could possibly know. Since she's only ranked 5th, he pets her head condescendingly. He's been ranked 3rd for years. Doesn't she know that the top 3 are called the Heavenly 3? He's just busy with bigger things. He shrugs and asks her what she's been so focused on lately. She built a private squad of 80 people made of commoners and noble kids from the border, didn't she? It looks more like an idol fan club than a real army. She's just busy recruiting pretty aristocrats. She fires back that Roman is busy too. He created his own squad using slaves and academy cadets. 56 soldiers, split into 7 groups of 8. They're probably out on some secret mission right now. Maybe they're even planning a prison break. Roman leans in close, telling her she's way too curious about others. Casa just laughs it off, teasing that it seems like he's the one interested in her. Suddenly, a loud scream erupts. Roman looks over and sighs, thinking to himself that the match is finally over. Lena has her sword pressed right against Cruel's throat. Thank God it's finally finished. He tries to speak, but she cuts him off. She asks if he's done or if he wants another beating. If he only relies on raw strength, he'll always lose. He needs to learn some humility instead of disgracing himself. He's absolutely fuming in defeat. Now pay attention, this is where things get dark. A shadow appears, asking him if he'll just take this. Cruel is frozen as the shadow mocks him, calling him weak and pathetic for constantly losing. People always take what's his. He's always beneath her, giving his life away. And nothing in his future will ever change. If he had just fought to kill, none of this would have happened. It was all supposed to be his. The mansion, the power, and his father's love. It's so pathetic. If he just kills her, he can have it all. Everything he ever wanted is right there, waiting for him to take it by force. He whispers that it's true. If he kills her, it's all his. Rage explodes as his eyes turn completely bloodshot. He smirks and asks if she's really that confident. Lena is confused by his sudden change. He says she can't kill him, and then, he plunges the sword directly into his own throat. Lena is horrified. He rasps that he'd rather die than lose. She drops her blade, screaming that he's insane. She begs him to stop, but he just smiles. He planned for this all along. You and I both saw that coming, right? His shadow lunges at Lena while she's wide open, starting a brutal attack. Blood sprays everywhere as he screams for her to die. Violent shards of dark magic explode in every single direction. He's bloodthirsty, but then he stops. He stares at the magical beast that just appeared in front of him. Who dared to get in his way? Is that a wolf? Where did it even come from? The black wolf speaks, saying it's finally returned. Cruel realizes the voice sounds familiar. Could it really be him? Lena is safe, cradled in someone's arms. It's our main character, Jan, who stepped in to save her. He holds her gently while staring down his opponent with an expression of pure, unbridled, and terrifying aggression. Roman, Casa, and Cruel are stunned. The wolf starts prowling forward while Lorena lies there unconscious. Suddenly, her eyes flutter open. She sees Jan standing there and gasps that it's really him. Cruel laughs, saying luck is on his side since he can kill them both now. Jan just stays silent, laying her down gently and telling her to rest for a moment. Cruel mocks him, asking if he's actually training a circus dog now. He asks if Jan spent 2 years teaching a wolf tricks. Jan replies that it's been 2 years and he's still the same. Roman appears in midair, curious if a new player has joined. This guy's energy is absolutely overwhelming her, and that's where we leave it. Jan senses it too, he's made progress, and now it's time to end this. All right. You and I are jumping right into a moment where our main character is on the brink of losing his humanity. Laughing like a madman, he launches his assault, demanding answers. Jan presses the question, is he actually concerned about his own fate? Regret is coming, but a voice cuts through the tension. Enough talking. 2 years away, and they have gotten way too arrogant. Then, massive energy hits. It is the head instructor. He is here to give the final announcement, demanding everyone stop what they are doing and take their seats. They are stunned to see him, but he tells them to hurry. Nobody wants to die on their graduation day. After a moment, he reveals the brutal truth: out of 10,000, only 200 survived. That is a solid result. Now, scores are split, half for physical stats, half for mana. No more numbers. They are officially Imperial Knights now. The crowd erupts. Being a knight is huge. We are not talking about standard soldiers on horseback, but mana users. There are 10 distinct phases that determine just how powerful a knight truly is. This covers masters of mana and dungeons, knights who can summon legendary named swords, and even those capable of projecting their raw energy onto physical objects. Even knights who buff themselves. From knights who buff their blades with internal energy to those who create weapons from pure force. But that is enough talk. We are starting the rankings from first place. Jan steps up to get his rank. Results are out, and everyone moves into the elite dorms. Jan is just relieved to find a normal bed after living like a wild animal for 2 years. Meanwhile, Momin asks what these knight qualifications actually signify. Jan is confused. Has she really never heard of knight rankings? Apparently, 1,000 years ago, this system did not exist. Simply put, knights in the same category are like tiered magic circles. Most knights only reach rank 7 or 8. It might seem low, but it is enough power to single-handedly take down most monsters. Now pay attention here, the Elite Four have already reached rank 6. None of the cadets can touch them, and that talent makes everyone else absolutely furious. Lena approaches, noticing how much he has changed recently. Long time no see. His hair is longer, and she has grown too. She asks about Cruel, but he interrupts. Our hero tells her not to worry about it and asks if she is feeling okay. He even offers some healing ointment. Lena demands to know why he is helping when nobody asked for it. Does he really think she is so weak she would lose? Jan is completely baffled by her outburst. She warns him not to get cocky just because he hit rank 5. To her, it is just a number, despite the prestige of that title. Most knights only dream of mastering such profound levels of energy. But while rare, there are others in the Empire who have achieved the same feat. The prince reached rank 5 at just 17. You and I both know she is just being salty about his hair. She walks away after that jab, leaving Jan to call out her sarcasm. Her own brother is also a rank 5 knight. But because of the crown prince, he missed out on being the youngest representative in history. So childish. She hates that he is better than her brother. Momin does not think rank 5 is that special. She just wonders why he is hiding his strength. Jan explains that it is better to keep his true power hidden for now. He only needs to show enough to act as bait for the enemy. He smiles and walks off. Suddenly, a subordinate approaches the chief instructor with a grin, reporting that Jan has been intimidating the others. He definitely did not expect him to scare that black wolf. Did he really use the legendary Dark Dragon Sword technique? His subordinate warns the chief instructor that he has grown far too attached to this particular cadet. Letting him use such a technique is a direct violation of the rules at this training center. The senior instructor asks what is wrong. The chief says fear is gone. How long has it been since your promotion? Since when did you have the right to speak your mind? Jock apologizes and starts cleaning. He has had enough. The chief instructor is clearly losing his edge. His subordinates are starting to notice it too. Time to eliminate him. Later, Jan finally hits his bed. Stick with me, we are ending on a massive cliffhanger as Jan wakes up to find Momin sitting on him, claiming his body is now hers. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where a second chance at life meets a cold, calculated revenge plot. She stayed hidden in the shadows of his mind, slowly weaving a mind-breaking seal to seize total control over his body, piece by agonizing piece, without any rush at all. But then, everything changed. He suddenly snapped his eyes open and ordered her to let him go. She just grinned, asking if he was finally awake, claiming she was simply testing the limits of her own magical influence. Jan shot back that she was playing with fire, reminding her he would turn her to dust if caught again. She screamed in frustration, blaming the whole mess on him for refusing to hand over his physical vessel to her control. Later, at the training grounds, he suddenly stood up, wondering who could possibly be looking for him at such an hour. When he opened the door, Jacques was waiting with a message. The head instructor wanted a meeting right now. They headed toward a deserted shopping alley used by the special squads. As they walked the empty streets, the main character questioned why the instructor would call for him now, especially since the exams were already over. Now pay attention here, because this is where a friendly escort turns into a deadly, dark energy ambush. Jacques lunged with a sharp dagger, shouting about his quick wits. but the protagonist vanished before the blade could even land. Jan laughed, impressed by his own reflexes. He reappeared right behind Jacques, who froze in absolute terror as a blinding flash of spirit energy suddenly filled the air. Using his form 7 Dark Spirit, he struck. Jacques gasped, realizing he had been spotted from the very beginning. Jan mocked him, asking how he could miss such a clumsy attack after everything he had survived. Shouldn't he be better trained? Jacques called him a sinner. Suddenly, Jan noticed the blood-red energy swirling around the enemy's blade. Only one place uses swords like that. Is he an instructor? Does the senior instructor really know about this? Are they actually allowed to pull stunts like this in the academy? He called the kid a freak, mocking his arrogance just because he managed to land the 5th rank. It's always the same. One lucky break on an exam and suddenly these brats think they're untouchable. It won't last. Suddenly, more attackers pounced from the shadows. He spun around, surprised that he was now facing an entire squad of enemies. Before long, he was overpowered and bound tightly. A voice asked what he was doing. He told the voice to be quiet, then demanded the senior instructor tell him exactly why they were doing this to him. One of the men told their captain to finish him off quickly. Jacques asked if he really needed a reason. He replied that he did, just so he could understand where he had messed up. You and I both know the past always catches up. Jacques asked if he remembered the events from 2 years ago. The day he escaped with those cadets, several instructors were sent to hunt them down, and they all died. One of those instructors was his younger sister. The protagonist realized the truth, though he couldn't even recall her face. She was the leader of the 3rd pursuit team. He hated that she died for a worthless cockroach like our main character. He could still see her face, twisted in absolute agony and pain. He vowed to kill him right then and there to send him to hell and avenge his sister. As he drew his dagger, Jan told him to let go. Jacques screamed as he swung for the kill, swearing he would pay with his life. But suddenly the black wolf spirit erupted, shielding him from the strike. The power of the black dragon sword began to make Jacques tremble. The terrifying black wolf stood tall before him. The main character noted that his sister fought well, but it was a battle to the death. Why should he feel pity? Besides, he doubted this was just about a personal grudge. He wondered if he should just call them rebels instead. The great Armenian revolt that once shook the entire continent had eventually ended in a total failure, but a small group managed to gather a massive army, calling themselves the feared Revolutionary Army. The Order of the Red Revolution took their name from their signature blades, which required a constant sprinkling of fresh blood. To give the blades that terrifying crimson hue, every battle they fought was a total bloodbath. Their leader developed an artificial skill that allowed his knights to deal even more devastating damage. But there was a catch. This skill turned their blood into fire, forcing the knights to turn to vampirism just to survive. The rebellion was starting. Stick around, because you and I just witnessed the start of a war that will change everything. Alright, you and I are diving back in. Whose orders were they following? The instructors, or is there a bigger conspiracy hiding in the shadows? Jacques is stunned. He calls him a brat, completely shocked that our main character knows exactly what is going on. But since the rebellion came up, Jacques figures he can kill the kid with a clear conscience. He loses it, screaming at his men to start a red revolution, and Jan realizes he is serious. Magic energy flares up everywhere. The crowd lunges forward, all of them screaming for the kid's head. Jan notes that 3 fighters are ganging up on a 5th-rank knight. He'll have to match their raw power. Time to call out the Black Wolf immediately. As the spell activates, a dark aura spills out. Jan draws the dark dragon sword, and Jacques' eyes go wide. He screams that this is impossible. That is the chief instructor's signature move. How is a kid this young that powerful? Now watch this. The dark power explodes as Jan swings. With one single strike, he cuts down half the group like paper. A second later, a massive pillar of light shoots straight into the heavens. Jacques is the only one left. He is shaking. One swing? How? How could one boy wipe out everyone that easily? He is a straight-up monster. As Jan closes in, Jacques trembles, begging to know what he actually is. Is he an Imperial spy? How does he know their secret? Or did the head instructor finally sell them out? Jan tells him to shut it. He is the one asking questions. Behave, and he might just let him live. Look closely at this medallion. Have you seen this crest before? Jacques recognizes the symbol and lets out a scream. Why is it here? Jan shouts that he finally found it, grabbing Jacques by the collar with pure rage. What does this mean? Is it a family crest? Or a guild? And what the hell does this have to do with the chief instructor? Do others carry this mark? Jacques is confused, not understanding why Jan keeps pressing him about the same thing. Jan snaps, but then he notices something. What is happening to Jacques' face? Okay, you saw that too, right? As soon as he speaks, his face swells up and just pops. He's gone, lying in a pool of blood. Jan looks down, wondering if the man just ended his own life. Moment explains it was a magical taboo. The poor guy probably didn't even know he was cursed from the start. It is a trigger curse. Say the wrong word, and the seal drains your life force and your blood until your entire body literally explodes into a giant, bloody mess. She isn't exactly sure what magic this is, but she has a pretty good guess. He tells her to stop teasing. Even if it is a small clue, it is more than he had. This symbol connects the instructor to the rebellion and his parents. Jan has a very bad feeling about where this leads. He needs to confront the instructor. Momen asks if he's really going through with it. Does he plan to kill everyone? But didn't the instructor send these assassins himself? Yeah, that is almost certainly the case. But maybe he didn't order their deaths. He sent them to be killed instead. Right, Master? The head instructor appears right behind him, grinning. Of course not. Who would send their own men to their deaths? Jock was getting out of line lately, so he needed a lesson in manners. Since you graduated, you are free. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Get some rest. At your current level, this next job is going to be tough. He walks away. As the sun rises the next day, a loud train thunders through the forest. This is the transcontinental train heading to the Wolf family's northern lands. Plenty of luggage, but almost no passengers on board. The conductor starts his rounds. He politely stops one passenger, asking to see their ticket for the journey ahead. It's Jan. He hands it over immediately. The conductor checks it, wishing the boy a very pleasant trip. With the exams finally behind him, he should be enjoying a quiet, peaceful ride across the continent. But we know that's not the case. He is heading north to complete his next missions. Now that exams are done, every surviving cadet is officially a knight in the elite special squad. Without any delay, they are all shipped out on their very first real mission. Soldiers were sent in 4 directions across the continent. The east? That is the lands of death, teeming with the restless undead. Casa is leading 80 soldiers directly into that graveyard of a mission. To the west, where monsters and weird nature rules, Roman is deployed with a detachment of 50 men. The south is a mess of storms and pirates. 60 high-ranking soldiers are heading there now. And trust me, you and I need to watch the north. Jan is heading there with just 3 men. Alright, stick with me. You and I are heading to the frozen north, a place so cold even dragons turn to ice. Jan is just glad it will be a quiet trip. But the team he put together? Honestly, it is a total mess. He is stuck with Lena, Cruel, and Cheryl. The world's 3 biggest headaches in one spot. Cruel immediately starts barking, asking the princess why she is following him. Is this her weird way of getting revenge? Lorena just stares out the window, completely tuning his voice out. He calls her a fool for ignoring him, but Cheryl jumps in, telling him to watch his mouth and stop swearing. Lena's people are clearly fed up too. Cruel snaps back, asking if she is just some lowly servant girl. Cheryl sadly explains she is no servant. She has been Lena's loyal friend since they survived the trials together. Ever since Lena saved her life, she has been a shadow. Wherever Lena goes, Cheryl is right there behind her. No one ever stood up for her before. So yeah, she wants him to shut his filthy mouth, at least that is what Lena is thinking. Cruel is fuming, but Lena just looks him in the eye. Are you really that tired of living? Jan is just over it, wondering why they can't travel in peace. See, Cruel does not actually care about Lena. He is only heading north for one reason. Jan. He wants to kill him. Hated the guy since day one. Now watch closely. Jan keeps pushing his buttons, and Cruel is literally seconds away from snapping. Cruel asks how many hits he should take. Jan just stares back and asks him the exact same thing. He freezes, confused. Just once? Nope. Jan answers with a brutal punch straight to the face. Lena does not even blink, just keeps staring outside. She never expected to return to her homeland this soon. She remembers the warning. Mention that name again, and she would be banished from the territory forever. This was the place she abandoned without looking back. Her home, and yet, not her home at all. She has not found her brother, and returning empty-handed hurts. Jan notices her silence, wondering why she is so quiet today. She clearly hates being back. But soon, news is going to drop that will change everything for her. It is going to be a shock, right? The train is pulling into Avalon, and things are about to get complicated. Wait, did you catch that? Jan just overheard a very interesting conversation right behind him. A student is asking his master if they are really stopping. Avalon is right there, surely they won't just pass by? Something is clearly bugging the master. The prince will be let down, but the master does not seem to care. Training is over. He's got nothing left to say to the prince, so why bother meeting up? Jan finally realizes who this is. He might look like a grumpy, short-tempered old man, but he is a big deal. This is Elder Regger, the Empire's greatest sage and the personal tutor to the Emperor and Crown Prince. He is a commoner with zero magic or martial arts, yet he has become the most respected man in the land. His philosophical teachings are world-renowned, earning him incredible influence through pure intellect alone. The Emperor even gave him a Count's title. In his past life, Jan remembered him as a man of true honor. Jan remembers a memory of a subordinate screaming that the world is hell while the ruler ignores the people. The revolutionary army was rising. They begged the emperor to finally open his eyes to the people's suffering. Did he not see he had abandoned them? The wise ruler of the past was gone, replaced by a shadow. Blinded by petty power, he forgot what it meant to lead with true authority and grace. Rigor wept for 3 days, begging for change. For his loyalty, the emperor's reward was a death sentence. But that tragedy is years away. For now, the conductor is apologizing for a small delay. They have cleared out a private compartment just for the sage. He asks if the master wants to move there. Rigor agrees, and Jan watches silently as the old man and his guards walk past him. But wait, he spots something. A secret sign language message passed along as the train plunges into a dark tunnel. It is a setup. Jan just smiles. He has been expecting this for a long time. Regresses was loyal to the nation, not just the man on the throne. He would sacrifice anything for the people, but the army is coming. That secret sign language? It is only used by high-ranking soldiers in the underground revolutionary army. An announcement rings out. Technical issues. The train is stopping in the tunnel. Nobody move from your seats. A massive brawl is about to explode in the dark, and Jan is ready. He has to rescue that sage right now. Trust me, you and I aren't going to want to miss this rescue mission. Guard up, everyone. All right, you and I are diving into a high-stakes train heist where Jan uses a mental link to warn his entire team. The plan is clear. In 1 hour, the enemies will strike while they are inside the tunnel to kidnap a high-profile target. The culprits are hiding in plain sight, disguised as train conductors and innocent-looking passengers. Jan tries to explain the next move, but Cruel smirks, claiming they haven't even officially received their orders yet. Big mistake. Jan shuts him up instantly with a swift punch to the nose, ending the talk right there. With the room quiet, Lena admits she is lost. She is struggling to wrap her head around how Jan knows all this. He claims this is a top-secret mission from the chief instructor, which is exactly why he headed north. Lena nods. She wants to know more, specifically who their mysterious enemies really are. Pay attention here, because their true foe is the Revolutionary Army, and they are definitely the ones behind this entire VIP kidnapping plot tonight. As snow begins to fall outside, the conductors whisper. They have already put every passenger into a deep sleep. They used sleeping gas as a weapon, and now plan to haul everyone into the freight cars. But they are worried about special forces hiding among the travelers. Why else would simple conductors carry heavy weapons? Suddenly, Lena strikes. She appears out of nowhere, slashing one down while the rest of them stand there completely stunned. The wounded man screams that she is using an ice sword. That only means one thing: she belongs to the Wolf family. Lena stands her ground, knowing Jan's intel was spot on. One of the enemies just grins. He knew special forces were on board, but he never expected to find a dangerous lion cub from the Wolf family hiding right here. He mocks her, saying it is a shame a child got in their way. They are already dreaming of fat ransoms and promotions, but Lena's past with the revolutionaries runs deep because they are the ones who destroyed her entire family. She left her entire life behind and joined a special unit just to hunt them down. She is searching for the truth about her brother's disappearance. Seeing them now? It is a gift she will not waste. She raises her magic blade, while the men mock her. They ask if she knows her family's sins. While she lived a life of luxury, they claim everyone else was forced to survive on rotten scraps. They blame her family for everything. The Wolf family stands as the shield of the Northern Empire, and she will not let these rebels win after they've threatened her home with their chaos. Her power explodes. The shockwave from her blow shatters almost every window in the train car. One conductor is panicking. The next car over has gone completely silent, and all communication has been cut off. You and I both know Cruel has been looking for a reason to vent, and these guys are the perfect targets. The train screams forward as he tears through the enemies. He brags about his blade being from the Imperial Treasury. He calls it magnificent. Taking a deep breath, he admits how much he has actually missed the metallic scent of blood. He warns Jan that he is next. Meanwhile, Mom senses powerful magic nearby and tells him to stop overusing it. Jan tells her to pull her own weight. Now it is time to go and rescue the sage. Lena takes the front, Cruel takes the back, and Jan will sneak in through the roof like a shadow. Mom calls him a sly one. Lorena is showing way more talent than expected, and she is honestly glad she didn't just finish her off earlier. The girl is basically a walking ticking time bomb. But does this old man really play that big of a role in his grand plan? Jan explains that they will be facing the Revolutionary Army more and more, and there is nobody more useful to have than this legendary sage. With the sage on their side, the coming war against the rebels will be a whole lot easier. It is time to move. Moment observes that everyone around her seems to be playing a very deep game. She is still skeptical, but we are about to see exactly what is happening. The old man is bound in ropes. The rebels mock him, asking if he is really the Emperor's teacher. Hela, the commander of the 7th Corps and a top-tier warrior, sits right across from him. She repeats the mocking question, asking if he truly is the legendary teacher of the Emperor. Since he is supposedly so wise, she demands to know if he understands ancient languages and forgotten dialects. He admits he knows some. She smirks and asks if that means he can speak the language of a dog. She orders him to start barking immediately. The old man is confused, but his body suddenly betrays him. She laughs loudly at the man, while her followers call her beautiful, pure cruelty. Jan senses two powerful energy signatures inside the compartment. He knows they are not the only ones on this train tonight. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see Hela's next cruel demonstration of power. Alright, you and I are about to see a hero who actually meows just to survive. Momin is skeptical, but the guy just smiles. That is the most terrifying thing about him. He will toss his pride into the trash without a second thought to benefit the Empire. He is a total utilitarian. She keeps calling it ridiculous, but honestly, he is the absolute best at what he does. She killed those arrogant Empire scientists. He just shrugs it off, saying he is simply glad she liked the final results. Hela grumbles about her endless workload, even if she likes the old man. Wigger calls her mistress, and she decides it is time to hunt these rats. She lashes out with her blade, but Jan is lightning fast, parrying the strike before she can even blink. Light floods the area as Hela steps outside, shivering and muttering about how freezing it is out here. Maybe the old train is just infested with vermin. Suddenly, a strange sound rings out. She spins around and finds a sword aimed at her. Our main character approaches, asking the sage if he is okay. Wigger realizes the boy really did come to save him. He must have snuck in while they were distracted. Smart move. He is definitely holding his own in this fight. Jan nods, but pay attention here. Hela treats him like a total kid, mocking him by asking if he speaks pig language. She threatens to make him run like a hog. Jan just fires back, asking if she was the one lying there like a pig. She calls him a freak, while Momin finally figures out exactly what rank this dangerous girl actually is. She is at least rank 5, but her blade has a strange hum. Jan recognizes that white glow, the legendary Erectus lightsaber style. That master became famous because of his pupils, and she is clearly one of them. She wants to end this quickly. Suddenly, a voice commands them to drop the blade. One more move, and the old man loses his head. It is Varys, the 4th student of the lightsaber style. It was stealth magic. Jan turns to Momin, confused. Weren't there only 2 people here? This does not add up. She looks away guiltily. She said there were 2, but she must have mistaken the enemy's energy for the sage. Momin wonders how the energy was missed if it didn't come from the old sage. But stick with me, this is where Hela stops talking and chucks a dagger at Jan. She mocks his scared expression. Didn't he want to hear the sound of a pathetic pig squealing? Hela says it is too late for that. Now, she would much rather hear the sound of his skull cracking open. She coils her muscles and lunges at Jan with terrifying speed and precision. Her subordinates are ready, but then Lena arrives, unleashing her vision. The windows shatter as a bone-chilling frost sweeps through the entire carriage. The conductors are instantly frozen solid, trapped in blocks of ice. She mumbles about winter, but then starts coughing up blood. She pushed too hard. That frost came at a price her body could not pay. She is out of commission for a while. A massive guy approaches, complaining that she is being far too loud, far too noisy for a group of hidden wolves. Looks like that freak was wrong about everything, right? She does not recognize him. He is nullifying her frost with pure dark energy. If he came from Cruel's car, it must be him. Before she can finish that thought, he asks if she is really a girl from the wolf family. She spins around, terrified. How could this freak possibly know her secret? Meanwhile, at the back of the train, Cruel is drowning in his own blood. He has no idea how to stop this monster. This is a whole different level. He thinks of Lena, wondering if this guy is actually stronger than the head instructor. She gasps, did he really stop her strike with his bare hand? The guy just offers a fake apology. If they had not met here, she would not have to die. A second later, blood sprays across the train window. Jan is pinned down. She sneers, saying she can't wait to hear his boss scream in agony. She lunges, but Jan just smiles. Suddenly, Cheryl speaks up. Turns out she knows how to throw down too. She was told to hide, but don't let her rank 8 status fool you. She passed the exams and became an Imperial Knight. She wonders if Lydia Lena is all right. After all, protecting her was the whole mission. Lena is crushed, blood pooling around her as she lies broken. The train roars on. The man who did this just calls it a crying shame. If she had not been such an upstart, he might have spared her. Lena draws her sword anyway, refusing to quit. Is she really that stupid? Does she not realize there is no way she can beat him? What could she even do? She admits she is right. She isn't like the other elites of the wolf family. She is bad with a sword, way too emotional, and can't even use her vision properly. But even so, she will die like a true wolf. You and I are about to see what a cornered wolf can really do. Alright, you and I are dropping straight into a life and death struggle where one mistake means the end. Meet Amori, the black tiger. This monster is insanely powerful, and he just unleashed a mountain tiger spirit right at her. He challenges her to a real show of power. Moments later, Varys is stammering in shock because losing just wasn't an option. They had the numbers, the weapons, and even a hostage. So why is Hela lying broken in a pool of blood? They scream out in total disbelief, but Jan just walks up and tells them the brutal truth. They are just weak. We ask if it's over, and he says yes. The sage can relax, but it's probably better if he stays put. They are still desperate to know how he managed to shut down every single one of their coordinated attacks. Jan brings up the last time he beat their master using the lightsaber Regresses. He knows exactly how to counter them. That sword broke once before, and even if they were the master himself, Jan wouldn't lose to them even if the entire sky fell. Jan asks if he actually wants to live. Varys can't even process the question. Jan promises that if he answers correctly, he'll let him take a very close look at this mysterious pendant. Pay attention here, because as soon as he sees this symbol, he realizes it's the legendary symbol of the beginning. Jan repeats the name, but suddenly the guy's face starts bulging out. He's hit by a powerful taboo and literally can't speak. Even the disciples of Regresses are strictly forbidden from speaking about this secret. It's that important. A second later, he's dead. Jan realizes he won't be getting any more answers from these guys. Still, he's got a new lead. That symbol. He needs to figure out what it actually means, and fast. With the sage safe, they just need to get off this train. But suddenly, everything goes sideways at the back car. A massive explosion rocks the carriage. Jan can't figure out what could have possibly blown up back there. He looks at Hela's mangled body and realizes she's still breathing. She gasps that the engine room is completely gone. The train is unstoppable now. That overheated magic stone is going to send them slamming straight into Avalon Station. The crash is going to be massive. She coughs, turning blue, and laughs because she's sad she won't be alive to see it. This didn't happen in his past life. Jan is totally caught off guard by this new turn of events. His mom panics at the sound of the blast. They need to move now if they want to survive this. How do you stop a runaway mountain of metal? If that magic stone blows, the explosion will be absolutely cataclysmic. Now watch this. Jan tells her to stay calm, because a certain monster is about to handle the problem. Right on cue, a 7th-ranked knight named Kyle sprints directly onto the tracks. Talk about a grand entrance. As the car catches fire, Kyle explains he's here to save the sage on the Emperor's orders, but he can't ignore this train. Stopping this won't be easy. These Imperial Knights are the elite, protecting the Emperor and the capital with everything they've got. Word is, they only take rank 3 and up. The strength of each knight is basically tantamount to a natural disaster. He can't do anything else. He whispers a quick apology to Lord Vigor before unleashing the final blow of the Imperial sword. Blinding magical energy erupts from his body. A massive beam of pure light pierces straight through the runaway train. The metal screeches as it finally starts to slow down. Even Jan realizes this power is a bit much. Everything is washed out in white light. Kyle can't believe those rebels were cruel enough to pull a monstrous stunt like this. The train derails and flips over. Wigger just stares at him, confused by his words. I mean, Kyle is the one who caused the crash. He just smiles, asking if the sage is still in one piece. Wigger says it's a miracle he survived. He almost got destroyed along with the entire train car. Kyle just smiles and says he had full faith in Lady Beowulf. He knew she'd protect the sage no matter what happened. The sage was safe because she figured out exactly how to knock the train off the tracks. She derailed it to dodge his attack. Only a few cars got smashed, so the hostage and sage are totally fine. That's the top graduate of the academy for you. But Lena blurted out that it wasn't her at all. She didn't derail it. Then Jan steps up, saying it was just basic situational awareness for someone in the Special Forces. It looks like Lady Beowulf isn't the only hidden gem in the Special Forces after all. He chuckles, admitting he's actually pretty close to being number 1. Cheryl is left staring in pure disbelief. Lena interrupts, warning Sir Kyle that the Black Tiger Amori was among those who targeted the sage. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens when this elite rebel assassin finally makes his move. Alright, you and I are about to see a regressor realize his past life knowledge might actually get him killed. After the train derailed, Amori vanished, sensing someone approaching while taunting the daughter of Beowulf about their next meeting. She revealed the Black Tiger joined the rebels, meaning the fact she even survived a face-off with him was incredibly impressive. She said no, and just then Wigger spotted Mom rushing over to ask Jan if he was actually okay. Jan groaned that he was in total agony and had no idea what to do, telling her to quit clinging. She snapped that his body belonged to more than just him, though Jan just brushed her off as talking nonsense. He realized things were spiraling, as events started unfolding that never happened in the timeline of his previous life. The Black Tiger's move, Kyle's ambush, and that train blast, none of this was supposed to happen in his past. Now pay attention here because Jan is starting to realize that his very presence is changing the entire world. Could the Black Tiger showing up in the north have triggered some kind of massive, unforeseen chain reaction throughout the land? It was impossible to tell just how far these butterfly effect changes would go, so he had to be extremely careful when a mysterious man approached to speak. He was told to stay in the capital, finding it hard to believe so many people had suffered just because of him. His hand was injured during the train wreck, wasn't it? Another thing that felt like it was entirely his own fault. Jan told him he had a rough time because of the sage. Honestly, how could he just say something so cold and blunt like that? Since he owed a favor, he handed over an item. Jan looked down and realized it was a personal nameplate. It was a symbol that he was now a direct representative, which would definitely come in handy later. Jan smirked, asking if he was supposed to take this and just forget about all that barking like a dog. The man remarked that he was being blunt again, and said they would meet later if they were destined. Jan just exhaled, refusing to call himself lucky despite all his effort. Mom asked if a simple nameplate was really that useful. He replied that it all depended on who used it. Looking toward the horizon, he announced they were moving on to their next destination straight into the heart of the Black Frost. Later, a blacksmith asked for 500 gil to fix his sword. To Jan, that felt like a pretty steep price. The blacksmith was shocked, asking how on earth he had managed to damage a weapon made of ink iron this much. He admitted he'd been rough with it. It was a black sword given to him by his head instructor, forged from ink iron. He knew a regular blade couldn't handle the dark dragon technique, but even this ink iron was starting to fail under the pressure. When asked if he needed anything else, our hero simply said, "No, thank you." The smith yelled for him to come back soon for better service, suddenly hugging Yan, who was completely baffled by the gesture. His face was anything but polite. With the city near wolf territory and bad weather hitting, they decided to head through the gates. Based on the mana circle's recharge time, it looked like the gate would be staying shut until noon the following day. However, a small town like Villian didn't need much time to recharge its mana, giving them the perfect chance to finally rest. I know what you're thinking finally, a moment of peace. But for Jan, being around commoners again feels totally alien after all that training. Mom mentioned that everything felt strange, so he asked her what she was muttering about over there. She asked if he noticed that royal knight. Could he not feel the yellow dragon energy radiating off of him? Jan was confused, so Mom called him an idiot, asking if he even understood the power he currently possessed himself. A mana heart can store 6 distinct powers: black, red, blue, green, and the golden power of the earth. The yellow dragon rules over that golden power. Even without a mana heart, it remains one of the most powerful elemental forces. Mom screamed that he was stupid, claiming that if it were that easy, anyone could have founded a whole empire. Dragon energy requires the breath of a divine dragon and a mana heart. How could he be so clueless about it? She asked if his skull was empty. He paused for a second and just replied, "Of course." The only people he'd ever sensed dragon energy from before were the chief instructor and the crown prince, who were both legendary descendants of Bahamut. But what was that royal knight's connection to them? He knew he had to dig deeper to find the truth. A bit later, someone called out to him. It was Lena and Cheryl, who had spotted him nearby. They were loaded down with shopping bags, and Cheryl was thrilled at their luck. Lena asked if he was heading back. He explained he was just leaving the blacksmith after getting his gear fixed, since he needed to prep for the coming mission. And trust me, they have no idea what's waiting for them once this mission finally begins. Wait, why does this epic prep sound like a shopping trip? Cheryl just chuckled, and Lena claimed they only bought food and the bare necessities. He asked if they seriously planned to eat it all in one day. Cheryl smiled, telling Yan to join them. He wouldn't last 5 minutes in wolf territory wearing that basic outfit. He tried to refuse, but Cheryl basically threatened him into coming along. He realized right then that some people just never change. They kept pushing him, promising a personalized service where they would pick out clothes specifically for him. Meanwhile, Cruel was lurking around the corner, watching every single thing that was happening. When our main character entered the boutique, he just put on his gloves and said he would take what was needed. Anything too heavy would just slow him down. He geared up in a heavy coat and winter boots, while Aman complained that he was always such a total bore. Jan fired back a retort while Cheryl wondered if he should help Lena pick out her next outfit too. He looked totally caught off guard, as Cheryl pulled the curtains back to start their very own fashion show. The first outfit looked city chic, but Lena immediately complained that the fit was way too tight for her. Now look at this, she's screaming about wearing a swimsuit in a frozen wasteland while trying on light armor. It's the classic RPG trope we both know too well. She was totally fed up, convinced that absolutely nothing they picked out suited her. Cheryl disagreed, saying every outfit was cute, before turning to Jan to see if he agreed with her. He said they all looked great, but she just wasn't used to wearing clothes that felt this unusual. She accepted the compliment, but then put him on the spot by asking which one he liked best. He chose her current look, explaining that while everything fit, this gear highlighted her incredible swordsmanship and raw strength way better than the others. She was about to ask him to clarify, but she suddenly stopped dead in her tracks. She turned away sharply and announced she was heading back to the inn, leaving Cheryl wondering what Jan had just said. He was completely lost, so Cheryl yelled that she would go check on Lena herself to see what happened. Man couldn't believe the chaos, but Jan just wondered if he had accidentally made things super awkward with his comments. Cheryl caught up and apologized for the trouble, but Lena thanked her for the help, admitting it was good to pick something out. Cheryl told her to ignore those clueless men, since they clearly didn't understand anything about a woman's feelings. Lena claimed she didn't care about their nonsense, but it was pretty obvious that she was just trying to act tough. She kept insisting it was nothing, but the bright red blush on her cheeks told a completely different story. Jan shouted after her to meet at the gate at noon tomorrow, warning her not to be late for their departure. Lena grumbled about him being so loud, worried that people would get the wrong idea about their meeting. Jan realized she had vanished without a word, wondering if she had even heard his instructions at all. A man noted that ignoring him would just make things more awkward, but Jan was just focused on the gear they bought. But when he turned around, he realized his companion was gone, and shouted out, asking where she had disappeared to. Across town, a clerk finished an order at the Shining Moon, a popular pub right near the local transportation department. It was a hotspot for both commoners and mercenaries because the food was cheap and the drinks were always flowing. Now, pay attention here, because Cruel is stewing in his own hatred, realizing that getting close to Jan is basically a suicide mission. The guy is like a monster even in his sleep, and deep down, Cruel can feel that terrifying pressure. Jan clearly hasn't shown his true potential yet, making Cruel wonder why on earth he's hiding such massive strength. As he sat there brooding, the sounds of rowdy passers-by caught his attention as they argued over who would pay. One man called out the other's lies, pointing out he'd made the same empty promise 10 times already while drinking. A fight broke out immediately, as they decided to settle their score by beating each other senseless. The pub erupted into pure chaos, and Cruel started getting annoyed by all the noisy, ill-mannered idiots surrounding him. He wondered if they even realized that a member of the Dwight clan was trying to have a quiet dinner. He believed commoners shouldn't even breathe loudly around him, and he was ready to show them the gap between their statuses. The commoners had no idea what he was talking about when he mentioned showing them their place. Cruel spun around to see who dared to mock him, only to find Jan standing there, challenging his noble attitude. Cruel was shocked to see him there, immediately insulting the noisy degenerates for not knowing how to behave in public. And that's where we leave it, trust me. The high-stakes showdown you and I have been waiting for is finally happening. Alright. You and I are seeing exactly why status differences led him here. Our main character explains that ditching his title is the only way to get stronger. Cruel is skeptical, though. Can he really reach new heights? What does that even mean? Suddenly, a massive guy walks up and grabs his shoulder. He looks Cruel up and down before asking if he is some kind of outsider. Cruel spins around with a look of pure rage. The giant overheard their talk and asks if he actually has a desire to gain power. Was he about to spill a secret? Meet Billy, the legendary leader of the Thunderhorn mercenaries. Cruel snaps at him to back off, but Billy just laughs, saying real strength comes from one thing: lifting heavy weights. Join the crew, and he gets all the protein supplements he can handle plus total freedom to do whatever he wants. Cruel is absolutely fuming now. He grits his teeth and launches an attack, screaming for the guy to eat that junk himself. Billy lets out a roar of pain as Cruel pierces him with magic. Cruel taunts him, saying those giant muscles look more like pathetic balloons. Billy crashes into the crowd, and everyone realizes their leader just got dropped in a single hit. The mercenaries are stunned. How dare this kid humiliate their boss? Cruel just sighs. What was with that mountain of muscle? The guy smelled terrible, but that made winning even more satisfying. He could take them all down right now. But suddenly, the crowd starts cheering. They yell that he is a skinny legend with godlike innate strength. Now, here is where it gets weird. They beg him to teach them his ways. Cruel is just standing there completely confused. They are actually laughing. Apparently, nobody has ever taken down their big leader with just one punch before today. He is a noble after all, so it is obvious he is on a totally different level. Plus, the guy is surprisingly handsome. Cruel looks around at everyone in utter shock. He has no clue why they are being so nice, but he kind of likes it, so he finally smiles. They sit down, and everyone starts betting on how well a noble can drink. Someone calls for more rounds. It is time to drink together. They even wonder if he is as good at arm wrestling as he is at fighting. Cruel laughs it off, claiming noble blood makes him good at everything. The whole room erupts, shouting glory to the aristocrat. After a few rounds, a guy notices his mug is bone dry. He yells for the staff to hurry up and bring more booze. Cruel is grinning from ear to ear, totally wasted with an empty glass. His face is beet red, and the mercenaries keep shouting about their own lack of manners. He tells them everything is on him tonight. He will show them how a real noble spends money. What a day. Everyone raises a glass to Cruel. He just keeps smiling, actually enjoying the company for once. Cut to later that night. Our main character is dragging a hammered Cruel through the streets, desperately trying to wake the guy up. Jan warns him not to throw up, or he will literally end him. Cruel tries to claim he is stone cold sober, but the words come out as a mess. Cruel slurs, asking where his buddy Billy went. You and I both saw him look down on Billy earlier, so this sudden friendship is pretty hilarious. Cruel insists Billy is actually a hard-working, kind soul. Those meatheads were even cheering while carrying him out. It is honestly bizarre how they are treating him like family after just one day. He asks Jan if it is strange. They were so nice to him, and they literally just met a few hours ago. He starts tearing up, asking why his own flesh and blood could never show him that kind of warmth or kindness. Jan just looks at him, totally silent. Cruel keeps rambling. He just wanted someone to say he was a good man, or that they actually believed in him for once. Mom asks Jan what he secretly slipped into that guy's drink. He plays dumb, but she is not having it. She saw him drop something into the glass back at the pub. Jan realizes the jig is up. He admits he added a special powder meant to purge any demonic energy from his system. Looking at him now, it is definitely working. She is shocked. Where did he get the money for such expensive, high-grade medicine? Has he actually grown attached to him? Why start caring now? Jan just shrugs and asks why she even cares. He just remembered the old days. Seeing someone commit evil because they are under someone else's influence? It bugs him. So, he acted. No matter how much they need to hurry, Cruel looks like he is going to barf. Mom just says she does not care as long as he does not do it on her. Later on, at Duke Wolf's palace, the entire area is buried under deep snow and freezing ice. Inside the walls, a portal starts glowing. Knights gather around as our group finally makes their official arrival at the palace. It is our main character along with Lena, Cheryl, and Cruel. Cheryl looks around in total awe. So this is the place. Lena looks down with a frown, while Cruel complains about the freezing air. Is her homeland always this bitter cold? Their goal here is simple: team up with the Wolf Knights and crush the barbarian forces once and for all. In this frozen wasteland, fertile land is a rare treasure, leading to non-stop bloody skirmishes. Now, you and I are about to see if these proud northern knights will actually accept help from outsiders. Stick around. Alright, you and I are about to see Lena drop a serious warning right here. Jan turns to her, as she warns they might see something totally unexpected up ahead, and they need to be ready for it. The knights wonder if these are reinforcements from the special squad. But instead, a butler greets them, politely telling these uninvited guests to show some respect and turn right back around. Hans points out the North asked for backup, but he never said they were ready to host a party for guests. Do they get that? Count Hans, the legendary former commander of the Wolf Knights, chose to stay here as a butler after retiring. Regardless of his age, leading those knights means he is at least a third-rank warrior. It is absolutely wild that a man like him is a butler. Lorena notes it has been a long time since they met, and Hans just stares back in silence. She is here representing the special squad on official business, so he needs to watch his tone and show some respect. Now watch this, he snaps back, reminding her she left without permission and calling her out for being so cold after all these years. She joined that special squad without telling a soul. Did she really choose this life over them? Did she even care how worried they were? Jan admits he never saw this side of her. Hans starts shouting that the madam has a scratch on her cheek, while Lorena curses her old captain for being a scoundrel and allowing it. Hans yells that this is exactly why she hated coming home. Despite her sharp words, they had been counting the days until she returned. That hope was the only thing keeping them alive. She tells herself to stop, admitting she has been much too rude to him. His hair has turned completely gray since she left. When she finally asks if he is doing okay, Hans breaks down in tears and cries out for his madam. She tells him to pipe down and points out how freezing it is, suggesting they finally move inside. Their cook is finally going to show off his skills, and the rest of the group is invited to join them. He mentions the master will be back from his hunt soon to join them for dinner. Okay, let's pause. Lorena goes dead silent, then makes it clear she wants zero updates about her own father. She demands Hans never mention him again, planning to finish the mission and leave before he returns. Hans tries to clarify, but she just walks away. Later, they are all sitting at the table, wondering if this whole situation is some kind of bad joke. They are forced to wait for Lena to arrive before touching a single bite. Is this really the rule? Just staring at the food right in front of them? They are being treated like mutts. As Lena fidgets nervously, Cheryl snaps at the others to just stay quiet. If they do not behave, they will get treated even worse. One of the knights asks if he said anything wrong. A maid walks up and tells them to mind their manners, because right now, they are acting worse than stray dogs. He snaps back, asking if she realizes he is the son of Count Dwight. The maid just stares him down. She is just a maid at the Wolf estate, so why is she acting like she knows everything about high society? Cheryl tells him to cool it, noting that Jan is still missing. Where could he have gone off to anyway? He apparently had some private business. Word is, there is something in this castle that can only be found here. Meanwhile, our main character slips away into the hidden armory of the Wolf Duchy. Looking at the weapons, he remembers how the Emperor from his past life spent years scouring the continent for one specific blade. The legendary dragon slayer, who defeated the first dragon, split its remains to forge two divine twin swords. After Bahamut fell, one sword was passed down, but the emperor spent his life searching for the twin that even the founder could not find. He dumped a fortune into the special squad for the search, scouring the entire continent with no luck. He was almost ready to quit when, finally, the sword was located. Jan realizes this is the blade that even the founding emperor could never get his hands on, a weapon they could never track down. He never imagined it would just be sitting here, forgotten in some dusty northern armory. This is the dragon sword Astalon, the twin of Nan, the very same blade that pierced his heart in the past. He smiles, knowing this is the one, a blade so powerful, even an emperor cannot destroy it. As he reaches for the hilt, a massive surge of magic suddenly erupts. He freezes in shock. Could that really be the sword's voice? A blinding beam of light shoots straight into the sky as the sword speaks, declaring that he has no right to take it. Our hero tries to grab the hilt, but his glove is instantly shredded. The realization hits him, the legendary sword just rejected him. He calls the blade a cursed piece of junk, but he cannot shake that voice. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into things as Jan gets questioned about what he knows. She replies that she never expected such an ego to be this strong, since a legendary weapon always chooses its owner. When a sword possesses a divine soul, the blade itself decides who is truly worthy of its power. She just smiles and tells him straight up he is not in this Blades League, kid. Now watch this. Jan is not backing down, even if the sword refuses to accept him as its master today. He channels dark energy and grabs the hilt as the blade keeps screaming that he has no right to do this. The entire room explodes with a blinding light while Jan grits his teeth, shouting that he is absolutely the perfect person. The blade finally submits, and soon, the flag of the Wolf Palace flies high above the gates. Knights gather as Lena inspects the weapon, wondering if this was the original sword she used to carry. He rallies the knights to listen up, telling them their mission is to stop the barbarians just like they always do. But there is one major difference today. Lorena is finally heading out into the field with them. Hans thinks it is far too dangerous, but the knights erupt in joy for their mistress. She snaps back, refusing to hear it, and asks if they really think she is a fool who ignores her duty. Their mission is simple: capture 10 barbarian banners. Hans, it is basically easier than fighting an ancient lich. She thinks it will be easy, but Hans warns her not to underestimate their fierce resolve. To the barbarians, these banners carry the literal spirits of their ancestors. Hans orders the knights to listen carefully and protect the mistress with their lives. Cheryl tells him to relax, they have everything under control. Cruel just grins, saying he isn't anyone's bodyguard, so he won't be doing that. After a quick argument, Cheryl thanks Hans for the gear that kept them from freezing to death. Lena asks if he gave them this as Hans beams with joy, asking if she likes the new uniform. This is her first official mission with the Special Forces. You and I finally see our main character show up late, looking like he just crawled out of a disaster. The guys want to know why he missed lunch and why he looks like a total mess. Cruel laughs, asking what happened to his face and how he got so battered. With a broken nose and a ruined mood, the protagonist just stands there, staring ahead in complete silence. Voices call him insolent, asking why he does not just give up on that annoying sword. He calmly replies that he still has plenty of time. Lena tries to clear the air, telling him not to misunderstand why she is dressed in this specific gear. She explains that as a new member of the special squad, she has to wear this uniform. It is practical and comfortable, even if it is not the warmest, so she wanted to clear the misunderstanding. Jan is a bit confused but tells her the uniform suits her perfectly. She turns bright red and starts screaming while Jan just stands there totally lost. She orders the knights to leave immediately, avoiding eye contact with him in total embarrassment. The gates swing open and the group finally sets out. Lena rallies the troops while Cruel mocks the country knights for getting so hyped over fighting a few barbarians. Jan wonders if capital aristocrats will ever take this threat seriously. They feel safe because the Wolf family has always been the Empire's shield. But the tribes have united into a massive kingdom that is finally ready to strike the Empire where it hurts. At the center of it all stands the barbarian king. Valega is known as the strongest man alive and a threat to the entire world. He is one of 5 legendary warriors capable of bringing the Cabellan Empire to its knees, named Valega. His physique allows him to perform moves that defy common sense. Worse yet, he can read an opponent's power level with just a single glance. A total nightmare. Trust me, this guy was totally unkillable in his past life, and we are about to see how Jan handles him. Stick with me, we're about to see if he survives this next encounter. A while later, a massive force of knights gathers in the northwest forests of Wolf territory. The 3rd squad marches out, ready for war. Cruel loses his cool, demanding to know how much longer this trek will take. They're trudging through knee-deep snow. Why did they even get off their horses? Turns out, riding in this blizzard is actually 10 times worse. Jan mentions that everything is a blinding white. It makes it nearly impossible to navigate or keep their distance. Lena asks what the men really think of these lands. Do they just see a frozen, deserted wasteland? This winter lasts 200 days a year. In wolf territory, it's nothing but endless snow, but the land is free. But people live here permanently, braver and stronger than anyone you've ever met. She respects them for that. She asks if they see the beauty here, while Jan calls her a role model for other lords. Cheryl confirms it. That's Lena for you. The knights start cheering, calling her their light and their reason for living. Lady Lena is simply the best. Cheryl agrees as they shout that the landscape looks even better with Lady Lena there. She just tells them they're being way too noisy. The troops are ready when a scout asks Lena if she sees that. They spot a red signal fire glowing in the distance. Now, watch this. That signal means barbarians are nearby, and they're about to run straight into a fight. Cruel just grins. Finally, he says, they have something fun to do. The knight warns him not to get cocky. Sabo, the squad leader, tells him he's about to witness a scene of pure brutality. He scoffs. A brutal scene? Please. Does he even know the kind of monsters they've already faced down? They've fought everything from goblins and cockatoo griffins to an ancient lich. Compared to that, barbarians are child's play. Sabo is surprised, but tells them it's time to move out. They are an elite squad that has survived countless monster battles without even breaking a sweat. They're confident they can handle anything. But what they find next is on a completely different level of horror. You and I are about to see a bloodbath in a village too small to even call a base. People begged for their children to be spared. Now, they just lie motionless in pools of their own blood. Cheryl is horrified. Aren't knights supposed to protect the weak? Didn't they swear their swords to their lord for justice? This feels like the work of a demon. It makes you wonder who the real barbarians are here. Cruel tells Cheryl to close her eyes. This isn't something she needs to see. Jan notices the blood doesn't even faze him. This is good. It means he'll finally learn to control that inner demonic energy. Everyone else is just shocked. But this is the reality of war. There are no battles where armies just stay on their own side. The slaughter doesn't stop until one side is gone. They killed everyone, adults and children alike. As a future lord, Lena couldn't have been totally unaware. But seeing this with her own eyes, that hits different. This is the heavy burden she has to carry from now on. Can she actually handle it? Jan silently watches the girl who was killed while still clutching her baby. Cheryl suggests they might be the bad guys and wants to save them. Cruel warns her that getting involved will only end badly. They find the infant, and one knight says the kid is actually lucky. He says dying now is better than growing up as a vicious barbarian. He raises his weapon, but Cheryl screams for him to stop. The knight still moves to strike the child. Everyone watches in sheer terror, but Lena steps in. Her blade clashes against his, stopping the blow. The knight is stunned, calling out her name. She tells him that's enough. They've already wiped out the armed fighters. Now they take the supplies and leave. They were supposed to kill the child too. That was the command. Yan realizes this is her choice now, but the knights hearing this start whispering. They can't believe what she's saying. Did she really just tell them to spare a barbarian? They think it's a joke. Their bloodlust is starting to boil over. Lena stays firm. She's trained in the sword since she was a little girl in this harsh territory. She knows exactly what it means to fight these people, and she's ready to bear the weight of her decision. But something changed when she saw the child. The barbarian was barely dressed for the cold, yet the baby was wrapped in expensive furs. The knight asks why. Lena declares she's sparing the child, and trust me, you and I know she'll take full responsibility. All right, you and I are about to see if a single act of mercy triggers a bloodbath. The knight insisted that even a single surviving barbarian was a serious threat to their entire kingdom and its people. Being the Lord's daughter didn't give her authority to save him. To the knights, he was just another barbarian monster. He was just an innocent baby. How could a loyal knight dare to question her decisions like this? The knight demanded she send the guests away. Was she really trying to interfere with Nightwolf territory business? Cheryl called them failures. Since when did their duties include the slaughter of helpless infants? Had they no shame? Cruel knew that letting a baby die would ruin his reputation. He would never sleep soundly again after that. The boss warned her to stop joking. Defending a barbarian right under their noses was a very dangerous game. Did she even grasp the consequences? Jan could see the tension between them reaching a total breaking point. These knights would never change their minds. In this world, logic and morality are no match for raw emotion. Too much blood had been spilled for them to ever forget. How could he speak of forgiveness so easily? Suddenly, he felt a shift in the air. What is this massive surge of energy? Watch closely here. This is where the real nightmare begins, as the chieftain suddenly drops from the sky to crush them. The chieftain had arrived. With one massive, clenched fist, he completely shattered the very ground they were standing on. Everything around them began to glow with blinding rays of light and flame. People were stunned by this incredible energy, and Lorena was absolutely furious. In that moment, the entire world seemed to spin amidst the roaring flames. A moment later, everything stopped. The knight couldn't believe they were actually under attack. Where were their scouts even looking during all of this? The chieftain grabbed a knight by the head and demanded to know if they had killed them. His family and fellow tribesmen were gone. Habru didn't hesitate. He grabbed a knight and twisted his neck like a twig. He threateningly promised them a slow and painful death. After he destroyed the first knight right in front of them, Lena screamed for him to stop. She struck from behind, and a split second later, a brilliant flash of light filled the air. She looked him in the eye and swung for his head, but her blade simply shattered against his bare skull. The battle raged on, but he was too fast. Just as he aimed for her, the others yelled for her to retreat. One of them apologized, realizing there was absolutely nothing more they could do to stop him. They poured everything into their attacks, but their weapons just broke against his skin. The knights apologized for their earlier disrespect and urged her to run and save herself. I know what you're thinking, but wait, look at the pure terror on her face as that knight is destroyed by one single, massive swing. He swung at her, but Jan suddenly unleashed the Black Wolf spell. Moments later, blood spurted from Habru's wound. The chieftain stared in disbelief. Was he actually wounded? Jan called it a mere scratch, promising to cut him in half next. As Jan approached, Habru visibly tensed up. Ajimon, the sacred tattoos of barbarian leaders. They'd found a way to weaponize mana directly through their skin. Instead of a dungeon core, these tattoos channel pure mana into their muscles and skin. This made them invulnerable. Combined with their brutal martial arts, barbarians became forces of pure destruction. Jan admitted he was stronger than expected. Habru began screaming for his head, but the boys rushed to his aid from the other side. They charged with everything they had, but their swords were easily crossed and swatted away. Cruel yelled at Cheryl, telling the princess he told her to stay back. Habru couldn't believe these kids were attacking him. He called them pathetic before delivering a crushing blow. The boys crashed down. Cruel's sword hadn't even left a mark. Was this guy even human? Lena said the surprise attack worked, so they had to finish him. Cheryl ran back, having moved the baby to safety. Cruel snapped back, claiming he would have finished the chieftain if she hadn't interfered. Lena asked him to repeat that. He claimed he was attacking while she was just in the way. Lena argued that he was the one in her way. Did he forget losing to her during their last training session? Lena didn't see how that old practice mattered right now. Jan told them to shut up. Their bickering was only helping the enemy. They asked if he really thought he could win alone. Trust me, you and I are sticking around to see if they can actually survive this. Let's dive in. Lena's panicking because if the enemy leader makes a move now, they're all dead. Right then, Habru unleashes his magical power, slamming everyone back with one massive, devastating blow. He screams that since they killed his kin, he'll slaughter them all. This time, he warns them not to interfere. The group charges, but Jan watches from the sidelines, realizing their sloppy teamwork is going to get them killed. Lena and Cruel are skilled, sure, but their lack of coordination is creating a total mess on the battlefield. Cheryl tries to jump in, but Jan tells her to hold back. They don't need her help just yet. Suddenly he stops. He tells Cheryl to go help Lena instead, letting her use her own judgment in the fight. She agrees. With Cheryl stepping in, the flow of battle shifts, leaving a very confused Habru wide open. To the naked eye, her attacks look basic. Her hand movements are incredibly simple and plain. But these tiny strikes hit perfectly between the gaps of the chaos, turning their messy rhythm into a masterpiece. Now, pay attention. Jan's stunned because he never heard of Cheryl's insane talent in his entire past life. The others start arguing about how to attack, completely out of sync while the battle keeps raging on. The clash with Habru intensifies, and before long, deep bloody gashes start appearing all over his body. He's shocked. He tries to block, but his defense is crumbling as his body is slowly being torn apart. Suddenly, Jan teleports right in front of him, and unleashes the 15th form of the Dark Spirit, victory or defeat, striking Habru down. Habru stands there speechless, wondering how he got overwhelmed so fast. Jan triggers the reverse rotation of his 15th form, using the power of the heavens to finally crush his enemy. Habru screams in pure terror as his chest is sliced open by the blade. He collapses, and the group wonders if it's over. Don't relax yet. Habru is shocked, gasping as he's finally been brought down. Lena warns they can still feel his dark energy. This isn't over yet. Habru glares at them before launching into the air. He vanishes instantly. He didn't die, the guy just turned tail and ran. It's pathetic. The guy has no honor. Lena's frustrated they lost him. But at least they're all still alive right now. They stop to regroup and realize Jan is gone. Did he actually go after that monster by himself? Somewhere deep in the woods, Habru drags himself forward while clutching his massive chest wound. This pain is nothing compared to his tribe's suffering. He vows to survive and get his bloody revenge later. Suddenly, Jan's voice cuts through the air. He calls Habru cold-blooded, praising his quick decision to run away. If he had stayed just a second longer, things would have been difficult. Only fools care about honor. To live is to win. Habru demands to know how Jan tracked him. Stick with me. Jan offers a simple deal. Answer some questions about Valega, and he'll let him walk away in one piece. He wants to know exactly where Valega is hiding. Habru's eyes go wide at the mention of that name. Habru tells him to shut up, and Jan just frowns at him coldly. Habru snaps, raising his fist and screaming for Jan to never say that name again as the rocks crumble. Jan asks if he's choosing death as a dark wolf aura manifests for the kill. Jan isn't trying to kill him just yet, but he won't tolerate this disrespect while they continue to trade heavy, bone-breaking blows. Habru roars that he'll kill anyone seeking Valega, no matter the cost. He once dreamed of building a perfect world with Valega. Together, they were going to change everything. Jan realizes his devotion. Then, he casts a special spell Habru can't even recognize. Massive stone walls erupt from the ground. Habru is trapped, realizing too late he's facing a true master. He lunges at Jan's shoulder, screaming for him to die while demanding that he pull out his hidden trump card. Momon appears at Jan's side, shielding him with a massive lightning spell. Habru is paralyzed with shock. Flames consume everything around him, and he knows this is finally the end. As he starts to dissolve, Momon mocks Jan, saying he'd never survive a day without her help. She claims magic is nothing without imagination, and since he's her student, he still has a lot to learn. Jan tells her to be quiet, while she just laughs, enjoying her first real fight in a long time. So, that's where we leave it. Habru dies alone, failing to keep his sacred promise to the chieftain. Let's jump into a world where a warrior dreams of peace while covered in blood. Jan reflects on how brutal it was to stop the barbarian chieftain, realizing that if he had just mastered his training, things would be much different. But the truth is, he hadn't mastered half of it. Jan admits the enemy was elite, and now Chieftain Habru lies broken. Dying, Habru asks one final, agonizing question. Why did his tribe have to be slaughtered like this? They were just warriors trying to survive this unforgiving wasteland. Was it too much to ask for a place to call home? Jan explains the wolf family is also fighting their own monsters. Habru scoffs, asking if he's actually joking after winning such a decisive battle. But Jan is dead serious. He respects the chieftain's strength. Seeing this sincerity, Habru asks for one final favor before he draws his last breath. He saw them capture the tribe's last surviving child. Since he's the final heir, Habru begs Jan to spare the boy's life. Jan reassures him that the child is safe. He was taken by a decent man and won't spend the rest of his life in chains as a slave. Habru reaches into his pocket and pulls out the chieftain's sacred token. This artifact represented his entire life, and now, it would seal their final promise. This bone necklace isn't just jewelry accepting, it means taking on the weight of the chieftain title. Jan wasn't actually forced to keep a promise made to a dying man, but he chooses to honor it anyway. As the light fades from Habru's eyes, he prays for a world where people can truly live. Jan whispers that in his next life, he'll find peace. Fast forward to the Duchy of Wolf, where the commander's voice booms as he praises his victorious army. They successfully crushed 2 outposts, and finally brought down the legendary Habru chieftain in one epic campaign. This victory doesn't belong to one leader, it belongs to every soldier who bled on that field. Now, pay attention, because the celebration is about to get rowdy. Knight Commander Yelium warns that any sober soldier left standing will be crawling on the ground by his own hand. The men roar for the glory of Wolf, raising their mugs high in a massive victory toast. Cruel smiles while drinking with the boys, but Jan is focused on Lorena. She's standing all alone behind the supply barrels until Yelium walks up to check on her. She calls him by name, and he admits he's just relieved she survived. Plus, she's the hero who actually took down the barbarian chieftain herself. She denies the credit, but William insists on helping. He offers to go capture the remaining tribal banners if she just gives him the word. She tells him it's not necessary. Seeing her hesitation, William asks if her mind is still on Baz. It looks like she's struggling to fit in here. He tells her not to be sad, they are the elite knights of the Wolf Duchy. Outsiders think knights are just shiny, honorable noblemen playing at war, people who live and die with perfect honor on the battlefield. William says Baz should be proud he died, doing his duty by protecting his young mistress from the enemy onslaught. William admits he'd gladly die for her too, but he's just too strong to actually get killed. You and I can see how twisted this sounds, right? He envies a dead man. Lena tells him to stop, but he agrees to ignore the barbarian child only because she asked. Lady Lena finally smiles, asking him if he's really telling the truth. He warns her not to get attached to the kid, or make the mistake of thinking he's human. He glares at her with a menacing look, demanding to know if she understands that the boy is just an animal. She snaps that he's going too far, but he doesn't budge. To him, these savages are no different from wild beasts. In fact, barbarians are even more dangerous. He believes internal rot is way more terrifying than any enemy outside the walls. If they let this slide, the entire duchy will be in danger later. Lena fires back, promising to take full responsibility herself so he can stop worrying about it. Their territory is strong. It's not so pathetic that it would crumble just because of one single barbarian child. A dark memory flashes in his mind. He clenches his teeth, warning her that taking responsibility is never as easy as it sounds in your head. People can die in an instant, even if the enemy never actually steps foot on your home soil. Can she truly answer for the bottomless grief that all those broken families will have to endure? This is his final warning. She needs to sit down and think about this very carefully. He walks away, leaving her shouting. She doesn't get why he's normally so kind but so ruthless to a child. He just ignores her, leaving her totally annoyed. Hans approaches her, asking if William was just there. He could have sworn he heard someone screaming their head off from across the camp. She explains that William is furious about the barbarian child they rescued. Hans gets defensive, asking how that guy even dares to raise his voice at her like that. Apparently, that man can't see anything at all behind all that heavy armor. Hans takes a breath to calm down, asking her to try and understand. William has a very specific reason for acting out. 30 years ago, there was a massive campaign to wipe out the barbarians. A young knight searching a burnt-out village stumbled across a lone barbarian child standing in the ashes. The boy was standing there in the freezing cold, totally naked and completely unarmed against the world. Trust me, you and I are about to see why this knight took that child in, despite everyone else telling him it was a huge mistake. Alright, you and I are watching as this child was brought to the knight's mansion for the bride to raise. She spent a year pouring her heart into him, hoping love could finally change his wild nature. Tragedy struck when he suddenly attacked her, killed her, and fled. The knight found her body far too late. He collapsed over her, begging for a forgiveness he'd never get, if only he'd been there by her side. From that day on, as commander, he showed zero mercy, not even to barbarian children. Lena finally realizes the truth. That knight was William, and his soul is now fueled by pure hatred. Looking down in shame, she admits she had no clue he'd suffered through such a nightmare. Hans nods. He lost people too. Almost every knight here has lost family to the barbarians. Lena finally sees the weight of her choices. Hans tells her to stop carrying all this guilt herself. Meanwhile, our main character is lurking behind the barrels, eavesdropping on their secret talk. He realizes the commander won't budge, but he still has a promise to keep. Hans says the story isn't over. Now, here's the part where everything connects. Pay attention to the barbarian leader, Vili. Jan is stunned. Vili. The very name he's been hunting for just dropped out of thin air. All this time, the truth was buried in Beowulf's territory, hidden at all costs. But now, he finally knows. Talk about a lucky break. This information is pure gold for his future search for Vili. Hans sighs. He knows she only did this because she has such good intentions. He doesn't think she's wrong, but things are complicated. He suggests she leaves the boy alone and lets him handle it. She snaps back that it's impossible, and she won't forgive him. He asks if she has another way out. Let's see if our main character has a simple solution to this mess. He thinks they're just overthinking an easy problem. She looks at him, totally confused. Does he really think this is a simple problem? He just nods, tells everyone to stop stressing over nothing. Hans warns him, even as a close friend, he shouldn't be sticking his nose into the duchy's internal business. He just smiles. The answer is easy. Just get Duke Beowulf to give his official permission for everything. The Duke is the king of the North. If he says it's okay, nobody dares complain. Hans calls it nonsense. The Duke would never allow it, and besides, who would even dare to ask him? Lena's eyes light up. She'll do it. She'll face her father and accept his final word. Elsewhere, William wanders around, feeling like a jerk for being so harsh to Lena during their recent talk. Does she hate him now? He just wants her safe. Suddenly, the warning bell rings out. It's late for visitors. Then he sees the Frost Knight's flag flying over the walls. He's shocked. Did the Duke's power really bring them back from the campaign that fast? A man walks up, noticing William looks like he's seen a ghost. Something wrong? It's Captain Jian of the Frost Knights, and William is genuinely relieved to see him. He asks if the Frost Knights are back, meaning the Duke is here too. Jian says the Duke stayed behind. William's stomach drops. The Duke is all alone out in the Northern Sea? Jian laughs it off. To that man, the freezing Northern Sea is just a kiddie pool. Don't worry about him, worry about the demonic creatures he's facing. He also heard Lena brought a barbarian child here. William plays it cool. What's that got to do with me anyway? He's just worried for the lady. Everyone knows she has a heart of pure gold. She'd spend all day nursing a wounded animal. William wonders if he's that obvious to others. Jian shifts focus. What about her new squad? Can we actually trust them with her life? William admits they're talented, but they're still basically rookies. Except for one guy, Yan. He's something else entirely. With him around, the lady is safe. Jian nods. Maybe he's just getting old and paranoid after all. Trust me, you and I are about to see a massive typhoon hit this entire castle. Time passes, and Jan's group is finally settling into the castle wing. Alright, you and I are jumping back into a world where even a simple drink can't mask the tension between a mother and her child. They've been arguing for days, but things are finally cooling down. Jan warns her that the planned strike on the barbarians will be delayed for a few days. They've secured 3 banners, but no one knows when they'll grab the rest. Still, she isn't letting that slow her down one bit. She decides to give Jan a lesson, weaving complex magic circles while telling him to pay close attention. Seriously, when will he learn to use magic instead of just swinging a sword? She burned through all her hidden mana for this. He seemed to acknowledge her, but it was a total trap. He actually had the nerve to drain every drop of her lich mana. Right now, William and Cruel are busy clashing swords on the nearby training grounds. Steel rings against steel as the knight shouts advice, telling him to dodge right and be bolder when the enemy strikes. Cruel blocks the heavy blow and fires back a counter. He laughs, calling the move too rough and telling him to lunge even deeper. The guy curses, asking how this is even fair. He's stuck with a wooden stick, while his opponent is swinging a real blade. Now, watch this moment closely because the main character is about to step into the spotlight as William laughs at Cruel's determination. Jan looks bored. He admits his fight with Cabor showed him just how many weaknesses he still needs to fix. Honestly, without her help, he'd be in serious trouble. She just giggles and calls him a total liar. He's clearly just trying to get on her good side. He mentions a lead on Alon, though the item resists him whenever he touches it. Strangely, the Northern Knights don't feel a thing. They just think the weapon is unusually heavy. It could be Beowulf's special Snow Spirit technique, which supposedly pumps the dungeon full of mana. Since the Snow Spirit works like a mana heart, he's desperate to find a way to learn that technique himself. Mom asks why Cruel is sparring with him. He explains the guy is just tired of losing and wants to take hits from someone else. Mom admits that even as a lich, she thinks he's a bit too inhuman. Maybe it's some childhood trauma? She promises to find him a shrink. Just then, Gian approaches, saying he's glad they finally meet. They haven't been introduced yet, have they? He introduces himself and asks if he's the knight captain. He confirms his identity and apologizes for the late greeting. But Jan says it's no big deal. He's heard about the win against Cabor, impressive for his age. Jan just says he got lucky. He credits Lena and the squad for the teamwork, saying he just finished it off. The man laughs, but he has one burning question. Why is he calling the miss by her first name? That sounds way too familiar. Are they more than just friends? What did he do to her? Jan realizes everyone here is a bit weird, probably because of the freezing climate. He tells him he's got it all wrong. They barely even talk to each other. The man cools off and apologizes, but then he looks annoyed again. Wait, why aren't they talking? Does she actually hate him? Or did he do something to offend her? He's practically interrogating him now. Jan stays silent. Jan finally understands why William praised the kid so much. You and I both know what happens when someone underestimates a main character, right? He realizes Jan is level 5 and tosses him a wooden sword. Even our youngest could win. A knight named Mir steps out with a smirk. Jan thinks this is actually the perfect chance to test himself. He tells them it doesn't matter to him if they want to use real steel. He's down. The knights are shocked. Their captain laughs at his arrogance. He tells Mir to stop holding back and fight for real. Mir lunges at Jan, telling him he'll regret using a wooden sword. He braces as the knight strikes. A wooden sword goes flying, spinning rapidly toward the high ceiling. Mir hits the dirt. Gian stares in shock as Jan holds a blade to his throat. Everyone is stunned he took down a Frost Squad knight in one blow. Jan asks if he is okay. To that knight, he looks like a monster. Deep in the northern stone forest, the Lie asks if Beowulf is still out by the sea. The old man confirms he hasn't returned. The Lie decides it's time to summon all the chieftains in his name. Meanwhile, Cruel loses again. William praises him, saying his skills are evolving mid-fight. His talent is scary. Cruel wonders if he's joking about the progress. 600 sheets of paper talk about close. You and I need to see what's next. Alright, you and I are jumping back into a story where a simple spar can turn into a legend. He laughs it off, but he is getting stronger by the second. He gives his thanks just as William catches the sound of heavy armor. He spins around to find a full squad of Frost Knights already closing in. What is going on here? He steps closer only to find Jan standing over the knight he just absolutely humbled. The squad shouts about this being a disgrace, and for a second, Jan thinks he shattered their pride. Turns out, it is the exact opposite. He actually impressed them. Mir pulls himself up, genuinely thanking the kid for such a solid sparring match. He lost fair and square to someone way younger. His buddies just laugh, roasting him for being useless in his old age. Mir tries to act cool, but the teasing definitely stings. Jan watches them, surprised by how casually they handle a loss like that. For most knights, honor is everything. They usually blow a fuse or argue the results the moment they taste defeat. In a brutal place like this, every battle is life or death. It is wild that losing did not crush his spirit at all. Maybe that is why they are called the Northern Wall, their strength is mental. Suddenly, another man steps up and says he is taking the next turn. Meet Logan, knight number 99 of the Frost Squad. He introduces himself with a grin and gets into a ready combat stance. He realizes Jan has not mastered Northern Mana yet, but honestly, that does not make him any less dangerous. Their steel clashes instantly. Logan offers an apology for Mir's behavior, but his eyes are dead serious. Watch this closely, our main character is about to read every single move of that ice and snow sword technique. Logan is not holding anything back. He fires off a barrage of lightning-fast strikes, wondering if Jan's style is a bit too systematic for his own good. Jan counters by blurring around him with insane speed. Logan keeps his cool, waiting for that one perfect opening. There, a flash of a cloak behind him. He spins and strikes, thinking he has finally cornered the kid. Wrong. The real hit comes from the blind side. Jan slams an elbow into his chest, proving the cloak was just bait. Coughing up blood, Logan hits the dirt with a laugh. He is done. He admits defeat right then and there. That clash proved just how monstrous Jan's potential really is. Now the other knights are literally fighting and cutting in line to be the next one to spar him. Gian watches from the sidelines in silence. William walks over, curious to hear what he actually thinks of the boy. He just nods. Now he sees why everyone was hyping this kid up so much. William mentions his friend Cruel is talented too, but Jan? He is on a completely different level of existence. That snake of a chief instructor really polished him. He looked like a political amateur, but he is actually pulling off a massive success. Is he really that hungry for talent? Gian can't help but agree with that assessment. It would be better if he was sent to their duchy. They can't let a guy like this get too close to their lady. He might try to charm her, so they have to stay sharp. William agrees, wondering how Jan could even dream of speaking to her so rudely. Okay, wait, you saw that too, right? Just as Jan secures another win, the barbarians launch a surprise attack out of nowhere. An emergency horn blares through the air, sending every knight into a state of total high alert. Hans's voice booms over the chaos. He is rallying everyone, ordering every single knight in the area to grab their weapons. When they see the butler himself in full armor, they realize this isn't a drill. The tension is through the roof. He rushes to William and Gian with the grim news their lands are under fire. Meanwhile, the fortress gates are already crumbling. The barbarians charge in, led by the fierce Valley. Hans identifies the attacker, and Jan's face goes dark with confusion. This attack should not be happening yet. Is history changing again? The command post moves to the walls as things spiral out of control. Flames are everywhere. Hans notes they have already smashed through the third wall. They are moving way too fast. William demands an update. A knight reports that the third detachment is currently scrambling to reinforce the defenses. The wall is lost. They have to evacuate the civilians and fall back to the second line of defense immediately. But the enemy numbers are overwhelming. This is going to be an uphill battle, to say the least. Estimates put them at 30,000 soldiers. William is stunned. How did a massive army move without being spotted? Where are the rangers? He realizes they have likely all been slaughtered in the shadows. The enemy knew exactly when to strike. They waited for the perfect moment of vulnerability to launch this assault. William barks out urgent orders. Gian and the Frost Knights must help cover the civilian evacuation and retreat behind the main castle walls. He is taking his squad to the second wall to meet the enemy head-on. He knows everyone is terrified, but they have a castle to protect. Jan is cursing under his breath. History is warping again, and it is involving the one event that scares him the most. What did he do differently this time? Trust me, you and I are about to find out how this butterfly effect ruins everything. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a clash that decides the fate of the entire North. Everything became clear the moment Lena and the others decided their path and headed toward the frozen North. Meanwhile, a warrior reports to his leader that the third wall has finally crumbled as they push deeper in. He orders his fastest and sharpest fighters to take point. They have to shatter the next wall no matter what. Our main character realizes the truth. Veli is targeting Lorena. He wants to take her as a high-stakes hostage. Soon after, at the western gate of the second wall, the third squad of white knights prepares to hold. Every knight is fighting with everything they have, desperate to keep the barbarian horde from breaching the inner castle. Their captain bellows for them to grit their teeth and fight on, even if they are standing at death's door. They must hold until the Duke returns. But just as the captain falls, Veli orders his brothers to turn all their pain into rage. The hour for bloody revenge has finally arrived. Today they pray for their fallen kin. By the time this day passes, they will finally be the undisputed masters of the entire northern territory. Elsewhere, Lena is cutting through enemies alongside Cheryl. She checks her surroundings, making sure her comrade is still okay. Cheryl confirms, but the barbarians are endless. At this rate, they will be forced into a desperate retreat very soon. Lena tells Cheryl to stop fighting and go evacuate the children, despite Cheryl's worried protests about leaving her behind. She insists it will be easier to slip away solo. She needs Cheryl to move, and move now. Cheryl rushes to follow orders, promising to be back soon. Lena just has to survive until that moment comes. Now Lena is all alone, And just as she wonders how they broke through, pay attention because a barbarian finds her and lets out a bone-chilling laugh. He raises his massive axe, but suddenly he freezes. Lena stares back, confused as to why he stopped his swing. Why is he hesitating to strike now? The barbarian collapses after a painful wheeze, revealing Jan standing right behind him. He says he finally found her, and Lena just asks why on earth he was even searching for her. Without a word, he grabs her hand and starts sprinting, leaving her completely baffled by the sudden, frantic rush. Why is he doing this? Where are they going? He tells her they must get back to the castle immediately. She is the enemy's primary target. The Great Chief wants her because she is the Duke's only true point of weakness. He plans to use her as the perfect bait to lure the Duke out into the open. They can stall for now, but if the Chief makes his move, he could wipe them all out instantly. If she gets caught, it's game over. She has to escape, even if it means everyone else has to die. How could she just leave them? As they run past a tower, our main character hears a terrifying sound above. He looks up to see the tower top collapsing. He shoves the girl away, yelling for her to run. Boom. The tower crashes down, trapping them on opposite sides. Lena wakes up, her leg badly injured from the rough fall. Staring at the wreckage, she wonders who could possibly possess such power. She screams out Jan's name into the dust. There is no response. She shouts again, desperate for any sign that he is still alive over there. She starts to fear the worst for Jan, but then, let's pause because a voice rings out, asking if his entrance was a bit too sudden. She realizes it is Veli, the great leader himself. He smirks, noting that she already knows exactly who he is. One look at him, and she is paralyzed. Not even her father has ever made her feel such overwhelming terror. With her leg messed up, a long fight is impossible. She has no chance of winning a war of attrition. She focuses her mana for one strike, but he appears instantly, mocking her for thinking she could ever kill him with one blow. She is terrified by how he appeared in a single instant. She didn't see him move. She didn't even feel his presence. Now, she truly understands the great leader's terrifying power. He tells her she won't be hurt if she stays quiet. To him, she is a very valuable prize. She stays silent, looking away. Veli just smirks, making a comment about how young and naive she is. Suddenly, he spins and strikes at Jan, shouting that he could see the dark wolf hiding in the shadows. Lena calls out in terror as Veli smirks, claiming he knew about the ambush all along. But his grin instantly vanishes when the body he just struck evaporates into thin air like a magical illusion. The real main character is already behind him with the girl, asking if he really thought his eyes could see the truth. Lena is stunned, and trust me, you and I are loving how he just told the leader their real fight happens later. Lena just asks him to let her go. All right, stick with me, because we are jumping right into the heat as she clocks him for ignoring her. She is done with his bragging, and promises to tear him into tiny pieces in just a minute. He just smiles and asks, does he really think he has time to waste? His target is already slipping away, but the villain just laughs it off as total nonsense. He claims his target is right there. Then, he clarifies his true goal is actually the legendary dragon sword, Elon. This is what he is really after, right? The sword, Elon. They say whoever holds it gains the power to win every single battle. With this blade in his hand, conquering the entire empire is no longer just a dream. He offers to reveal the sword's location, but only if he can take the girl. He has important business with her. He finally sets the girl down. Vali asks if he will really talk if they are let go. Lena quietly asks if the dragon sword is even real. He confirms it is in the armory, making her wonder if he is actually giving it up. He flashes a clever smile and whispers that instead of the real sword, he will hand over a fake. He was worried since Vi spent his childhood in the Beowulf Duchy. He suspected that Vi might already know the truth about the legendary dragon sword. Those eyes of his would easily spot its true essence. Even without knowing Elon's full value, there is no way he would just ignore it. So, he threw out a tempting bait. Will he take it? Vi asks furiously if that is really what they call it. This was the ruler's blade, a legendary treasure passed down through their tribe for generations beyond count. Jan is glad the plan worked, but knows time is short. The knights are already moving the sword to a safe location. Plus, Duke Beowulf is returning soon. He has to choose now, is it the sword or the girl? Veli hates having to choose and decides to settle for a third option. He will just kill him and take both prizes for himself. Now, pay attention here. In the blink of an eye, he appears right between them, leaving both of them stunned by his insane speed. Vi screams for his death and unleashes a massive battle aura that blasts them both away. Our main character calls out to the girl, but the barbarian suddenly cuts him off. He calls him an arrogant brat for even trying to negotiate. He looms over him, promising to make him beg for the chance to reveal where that legendary sword is hidden. A massive blow lands. Jan smirks as a heavy pressure crushes everything in sight, but somehow, our main character is still alive. He lands on some rubble, breathing hard. He barely managed to dodge that. Did he really doubt he could hold back? Vi tells him to shut up. He stops because he noticed something. That bracelet on his belt belongs to Kabur. Where did he get it? He explains he got it from Kabur, leaving him shocked. Jan says it was entrusted to him to fulfill a final wish. Vali asks about his last moments, and he reveals Kabur was thinking of the tribe until the very end. He was a true warrior. After hearing this, he asks again for the location of the sword. He offers to let him go as a sign of respect for the man who carried Kabur's final will. He asks if he is really being told to abandon a friend. Eli warns he will die if he refuses. He knows he cannot win, which is exactly why he is using the sword's location as a bargaining chip. Trust me. You and I can see he is not even from this duchy. He should not be risking his life in a pointless fight. He had no other choice. Lena is slumped against a broken wall, resting. A shadow looms over her. Vali tells her he is sorry for the wait. He reaches out, eager to see how the Duke reacts to his daughter's state. He wonders what kind of face the Duke will make when he sees his daughter like this. Suddenly, Jan's voice mocks him, calling him an idiot. He relied too much on his special eyes, and that was his mistake. Right before his eyes, the illusion shatters. Our main character tells her not to worry, as the truth finally comes out. The news about the sword is real, so he better hurry. Vi grinds his teeth and screams in fury. Meanwhile, Jan is already long gone with Lena. He pointed the villain toward the sword, giving them plenty of time to escape into the distance. Now, he will chase the sword instead of them. Mom just laughs at the high-level magic. Her magic is on another level. His little toy cannot even hope to compare. He says it was impressive. She asks if he took that bracelet on purpose. He admits it was the only way to distract Villy while they made their move. He needs to wake Lorena so they can get the sword together. She asks if he is serious. Of course he is. Did she really think he would back down after going through all these trials to get this far? She asks how he plans to actually defeat him though. You and I are about to see if he can beat the protective spell on that sword. Even Villy will struggle to reach it. Stick with me, you and I are about to see if this secret armory is actually real. But the truth hits him the moment he kicks the door in and steps inside. The sword's magic pulses from the room's center. With this blade, he can finally confront the Duke and kill him. Now pay attention, the second he reaches for it, massive sparks explode and a booming voice thunders that he is completely unworthy. The weapon continues to resist his touch, but he just gives the sword a cold, arrogant smile. Trying to be cute? He asks. He grabs the hilt and tells it to stop whining and submit to him. As the sparks finally die down, he laughs and asks if the blade has finally decided to behave itself. He pulls the blade free, claiming it as his. Suddenly, Hans bursts into the armory, screaming that this will never happen. Hans wishes him death. He turns around, asking how the old man dares to interfere at such an important moment. They clash in battle. Meanwhile, the main character brings Lorena to the castle, looking for a shelter shielded from mana. He tells her to hide and rest here until the entire battle is finally over. She refuses, insisting she can fight. He points out she can't do anything on a broken, injured leg. She fell from the tower, but calls it nothing. She won't hide while her people are out there fighting. She refuses to just sit back and watch her subordinates bleed all over her lands. He calls her cold-blooded, but says she is losing it over family. Does she really belong on a battlefield? Pay attention here, Lorena isn't staying idle. To capture Vali, she knows she has to do something major. She asks what is needed. When he's silent, she snaps that she'll do anything to catch that man. He pins her to the wall, telling her to give him the most precious thing she keeps deep inside. She completely misinterprets his words, turning bright red as she thinks of something much more scandalous that causes her face to flush. Momon smacks him on the back of the head, yelling at him for being so incredibly awkward. He quickly realizes he phrased the entire thing in the worst way possible. He clarifies he needs the snow soul steps. Lorena is shocked and insulted that he even asked. No time for details, he says. This secret technique is their only shot at defeating Vali. Without it, they're done for. She calls him insane for even suggesting it. Snow Soul Steps is a Beowulf family secret. She can't just teach it to anyone, not even to him. Centuries of tradition stand in the way. Meanwhile, the spire containing the armory begins to collapse. Hans pounces on the barbarian, screaming about him stealing while his own subordinates are dying. The barbarian yells back. Does he even understand the gravity of what he is doing right now? Hans is here to kill the rat. He unleashes Snow Soul 12th form, White Flower, scattering razor-sharp petals everywhere. Vali is stunned. Every single petal is coated in a massive, enhanced sword aura. He didn't expect someone here to rival the Duke's strength, but it won't be enough to stop him. He wraps himself in a combat aura and uses Rainstorm to deflect every falling petal. Hans can't believe his technique was resisted. Suddenly, the barbarian pounces on him with a direct attack. The barbarian orders him to move. Hans tries his best to fight, but he wishes he were much younger. You and I both know Hans is a legend, but he won't last long, so the main character finally reaches the sword. Momon warns that Vali will sense the sword immediately. He tells her he is already aware of the risk. He will end this before that happens. He grabs the blade and a magic explosion covers him. Surrounded by the light, he remembers the final part of his conversation with Lorena. She insists on her family rules. He asks if a rule is more important than her own people. Her expression shifts. He tells her she needs to make a decision, and make it fast. Follow the rule or lose your army. You have to break the law to save your people. She hesitates, remembering the one who broke the rules and was erased from her family. But she knows he is right. She takes his hand and places it on her chest, entrusting him with her everything. He is confused as she tells him to focus entirely on her mana flow. And trust me, you'll want to see this. He feels the mana pulsing beneath his palm as she tells him to accept it. Absolute perfection and silence dwell deep within the ice. Alright, you and I are about to see a soul truly blossom in this frozen calm. As a pillar of frosty mana pierces the sky, Jan spots glowing ancient script appearing in the air, exactly like he remembers from long ago. The sensation surged through his entire being. His eyes snap open as he lifts the blade, declaring he has finally mastered the legendary dragon sword, Elan. Frost coats the steel as the blade reveals its true form, reacting to his power. Nearby, Hans struggles to stay alive, gritting his teeth while calling his relentless opponent a total monster. Nobody expected him to actually decode these complex and lethal techniques. Was his energy truly bottomless? This was the terrifying power of the great leader, Vali. The barbarian closes in, mocking the old knight for burning his life force just to survive. But for this veteran warrior, the road finally ends right here. He prepares for the kill, but a sudden shockwave stops him cold. Staring at the spire's light, he gasps, wondering if the kid actually reached the ruler's sword. That rat. He spared him out of respect for Kabor, yet he still dared to deceive him. The veteran spots a desperate opening. He lunges forward, screaming about staying focused. But check this out. Vali catches the blade with his bare hand, claiming their little duel ended ages ago. He shatters the blade and roars, launching a brutal assault. He screams that none of this would happen if the old man hadn't interfered. It looks like the end for the night. But suddenly, Vali's hand stops dead, inches from his face, frozen solid. Frosty shackles have clamped onto him. Hans is stunned, shouting that using magic in this zone should be completely impossible. Who is responsible for this? It is Jan. Walking calmly toward them, Vali growls, realizing the boy actually pulled it off. He can't believe those filthy hands touched the sacred blade. Jan just marvels at Elan, stunned by the sheer, incredible power vibrating through the hilt. His hunch was right. The snow soul amplifies ice magic, and with Elan in hand, his power has spiked to terrifying new levels. The barbarian is baffled. How did he claim the sword while carrying 3 separate mana clusters inside his own body? What did he do to himself? The main character realizes the enemy's God's Eye ability is going to be a real problem. Vali just grins. So, this is the strength of the ruler's sword? Honestly, that's perfect. That blade belongs to him. Shattering his restraints, he gathers massive energy, vowing to take the sword by force and kill the boy where he stands. If the sword won't choose him, he'll simply take it over his dead body. A dark, void-like sphere forms in his hand. Okay, I know what you're thinking. And yeah, that black sun is coming fast, but Jan just stays calm, raising his blade to focus. Everything goes silent. The world fades away into a state of pure, icy calm. Then he makes a simple move. A basic slanting strike from the Frost Knight's handbook. Moments later, the castle walls crumble from the sheer force, and a massive wound tears open across the barbarian's chest. The black sun flickers out before surging back to life. The barbarian roars that this level of power is still nowhere near enough. The main character's eyes widen in absolute fear as the massive sphere erupts. A blinding flash consumes the entire area, and a crushing wave of energy slams him directly into the wall. The barbarian clutches his bleeding chest, admitting he hasn't been hurt this badly in a very long time. So, that's the power of the ruler's sword. It actually cut through his muscles and countered his aura. Even an empowered blade can't match his raw strength. Jan gasps, knowing he barely survived that last impact. Vali looks on with pure admiration. He finally gets it. This sword's attacks can bypass mana entirely. He thinks it's perfect because he can see mana flows, but the main character tells him he's dead wrong. It's not that simple. Elan doesn't just see mana, it stops it. Unless he understands that vital distinction, he'll never be able to truly wield this blade. Vali tells him to quit with the nonsense. He'll understand everything once the sword is in his hands. But suddenly, an unnatural chill grips his leg. Before he even realized it, solid ice had already crept up and bound him in place. Even as a northerner, Vali feels a bone-chilling cold for the very first time. Behind him, the breath of death arrives. The master of these lands, Duke Beowulf, has finally appeared. Staring down from the castle's peak, he asks how a pathetic barbarian like him ever dared to step foot here. What exactly is he doing in his private domain? The very air freezes into a staircase for the Duke's descent, a sight that leaves the barbarian stunned. He marches forward, menacingly repeating his question about what the hell is going on. He tells him to choose his excuses wisely, as they might be his final words. Vali just smiles, saying they've finally met. He asks if the Duke knows the name of the leader who united 20 tribes. The Duke just snaps, ordering him to be silent. Why would he ever bother learning the name of a lowly barbarian? He's arrogant, sure, but he clearly has the power to back it up. He's never seen so much mana. Trust me, you and I need to see how he didn't even notice him approaching. Alright, you and I are about to see if this kid can survive the villain's ultimate trap. Was it the sword's influence? He tore his feet from the frost and lunged, screaming that their fated duel must happen right here and now. The Duke sneered, calling him nothing but dust and unworthy of even uttering a noble's name. A magic circle appeared beneath his feet as Vili claimed it was over. But the moment the Duke took a single step, the entire battlefield began to tremble. The magic circle exploded outward several meters, fueled by his legendary territory expansion technique. The barbarian froze as eternal frost, the absolute snow soul form, turned the entire castle territory into a graveyard of ice. Seeing this, the knights on the walls realized their Duke was back. Watch their reaction, it is pure hype. The leader was frozen solid. Bacchus turned to Hans, checking his wounds. Hans just stared in awe at how much stronger the Duke had become. He looked at the frozen monster, wondering if this truly was the legendary power of the eternal frost. The Duke joked about his age, asking how a barbarian managed to land a wound on him. Hans admitted he almost died. This territory expansion is the absolute peak of the Snow Soul Art's eternal frost. Inside this frozen domain, every enemy turns to ice while the Duke's allies remain completely safe. Meet Bacchus Beowulf, the master of this technique and the iron wall that tirelessly defends the north. Bacchus asked Hans how he could let himself get beaten like this. Ashamed, Hans just told him to forget it ever happened. The important thing is that Lena and the people of the duchy are finally safe. Hans mentioned the boy who helped them and looked for Jan to introduce him, but he was already gone. Bacchus asked if the kid had a talent for running away, but Hans knew better. You and I know Jan wouldn't run. The Duke prepared to leave, but suddenly, Vili stirred. His free hand, still outside the ice, began to glow. He summoned another black sun, shattering the ice and mocking the Duke for letting his guard down so easily. Bacchus admitted the guy was tough, but not enough to kill him. Vili sneered, targeting the innocents instead. He hurled the destructive black sun straight toward the tower where the refugees were huddled. The barbarian grinned, thinking he'd escape while the Duke saved his people. But his plan hit a wall. Our main character intercepted the sphere and sliced it apart, calling the barbarian an incredibly persistent and annoying pest. The barbarian roared in fury as the black sun detonated, engulfing the area in a massive, blinding explosion. Jan collapsed, completely drained of his strength. He was exhausted from wrestling with a new sword and overwhelming magical power while trying to keep Lena safe. After fighting that monster, he had zero strength or mana remaining. He had given everything. It was finally time to rest and let the others finish the job. He closed his eyes, but then he heard Lena's voice, desperately begging him to wake up. He chuckled to himself, realizing he wouldn't get a break today. But he didn't mind. News of the invasion spread. Damien smiled at Jan's deeds, while Leon grew very curious about him. And trust me, history is finally beginning to change.